That deployment ended very anticlimactic. I got promoted to staff sergeant. I didn't know that it was the first sentence in the Marine Corps doctrine was like, you're only officially promoted when a commissioned officer puts it on your chest. The same week, the sniper staff there thought that I was blowing off this assignment, and that was truly not the case. It was just a misunderstanding. Before I know it, I'm standing in front of the major, the company commander, and I'm just sitting there wondering to myself, what is going on here? Then he's like, who promoted you, by the way? And I did something that I don't do, and I lied. They investigated it behind my back, found out that that was not true. Simultaneously, I got poison oak so severely. And then just to top it all off, the only time ever in my life, I failed a ruck run. They pull me out the field, they tell me I'm getting sent back home. So I deploy in the intel billet, and then the C-130 crashed.
16 men killed when their Marine KC-130 crashed in Mississippi.
Is it safe to say or accurate to say that if you hadn't got kicked off, you would have 100% been on that plane?
It was truly divine intervention.
When hunting isn't about hunting at all. Team Dog features comprehensive and customizable meal plans with dry and raw food options to meet your dog's unique nutritional needs, including digestive sensitivities, allergies, or selective eating. Did you know combining 75% dry food with 25% raw food delivers robust, nutrient-dense meals for your dog? Be your dog's hero with Team Dog.
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, it's both an honor and a pleasure to welcome my next guest to the podcast. He's a former Marine Raider. He's the owner of JM Training and Lethal U. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, not related to Sam, Joe Malone.
What's happening, man?
Does that even resonate with you? How old are you? Do you mind?
38.
38. So you probably didn't watch Cheers growing up, did you?
You know, it's funny. I thought Cheers was a real place my dad would bring me because he would watch it, and sometimes he would bring me to the bar after his softball games or something like that. And so growing up, I actually thought that the postman in that TV show, I forget his name.
Cliff, I think.
I thought that was a real person my dad knew. And it wasn't until my teenage years I actually realized that, no, it's a TV show.
Well, I guess the outside, the entrance that they show in the intro to the show or whatever, that's a real place, I think, in Boston.
I believe it.
Maybe it's New York. Fuck, I don't know. But yeah, it's funny shit. What's the last full book that you've read?
Last full book is I'd say Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I've read that book a few times now.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Is there a biggest takeaway for you from it?
The subconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah. That has changed my life.
Really?
Undoubtedly. Realizing how we can prime and program our brain has literally saved my life.
Oh, shit.
And allowed me to continue to find new things to strive for in a positive way.
Yeah. That's awesome. What's something you wish you were better at?
I wish I was more... Well, I'd like to say just an overall better person, controlling my thoughts and not going down these strange, warped, rabbit holes in terms of like thought processes and seeing always like the worst case scenario and stuff. But I just wish I was more compassionate, and everything that comes along with that, like patience and understanding, empathy. It's something that I feel like I lack externally because I lack it internally. I'm very hard on myself.
Yeah. I don't think that that's a bad thing to want to be better at, that's for sure. Do you have a favorite quote?
I think it changes throughout time, but the two that come to my mind right off the bat is, those capable of great lethality are capable of preserving great peace. And that comes from it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war, especially in relation to American society. But the other one would be whether you think you can or cannot, you're correct.
Yeah.
And that came from Napoleon Hill.
Yeah. So as an FFL guy, do you have like a go-to favorite EDC? I imagine in Chicago, I mean, being an FFL, can you carry concealed or do you not even have that luxury?
Yeah, so in Illinois, we used to not have that luxury. But in 2014, the state Supreme Court or the federal state Supreme Court, whatever court, came out and said, no, that's unconstitutional. It used to be so crazy that in the city limits, you would have to like call the police department and let them know that you're transporting a firearm, the make, model, where you're going with it, how much ammo is like in the car. You know, of course, every station was like a little bit different. And then, of course, you have to have a firearm owner's identification, which is a void card in the state of Illinois. We still have that requirement. So as of 2016, the classes started running, people started training, and people started carrying concealed, which is a big, right now it's a big part of the mission for what we got going on up there.
Yeah. What's your go-to carry gun?
So right now it's just the 365 XL with a red dot on top of it. That's, you know, in Illinois, you're going to get that thing C&D'd, confiscated and destroyed. Now, I've got certain relationships that I've brokered and leveraged to where I'll get a new gun, so I really don't have to worry about the whole cost aspect of things. But just for simplicity's sake, I've been carrying the same one ever since it came out, really.
Yeah. That's what I carry. Yeah, it's such a good gun.
It is.
Yeah. Going to kind of your childhood, you know, reading through some of the notes and kind of, if you want to call them highlights or we'll say notable events, seems like a pretty tumultuous childhood growing up in Chicago. Can you kind of synopsize what it was like growing up there, talk about, you know, family, siblings, sports, etc.?
Yeah. It was. Tumultuous, I think, is a really good word for it. And unfortunately, a lot of that, I think, was like self-induced. I was talking to my wife about this yesterday, actually, and how generations carry certain genetic things. I don't know if it's called like epigenetics or whatever, but basically if you've experienced trauma from 3 generations ago, how it still carries over into the following generations. Less, but still present within the genetic code. And I think a lot of it does come from not my parents, not my grandparents, but like my great-grandparents' generation. And I'm not like, you know, blaming that at all, but it's when I'm looking back at my life and I'm trying to figure out what was my desire, like my yearning to just fuck everything up constantly. We could swear on here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, fuck, I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen your episodes before. It's just I never really recollect whether or not you could, you know, curse or not, but.
I mean, you can take your clothes off if you want. I mean, I don't give a shit.
No, I mean, well,
we might get there.
Yeah, perhaps, but it was interesting because I always wanted to like self-destruct, and being in Chicago, there's a lot of opportunity to do that. And specifically, the part where I'm from is technically a suburb. It's called Willow Springs, and it's this old mafia village. And when I say mafia, I mean every single mayor, every single police chief that we ever had from the 1860s, all through Capone, all up until 1992, like early 90s, was appointed 100%, no doubt about it, by the outfit, by the Chicago Mafia. And so it's this wooded little area. It's like a choke point for all like the narcotics that get traveled through and all sorts of other, you know, illegal stuff, I'm sure. And so there was a lot of illegal substances moving through the area, and hanging out with the people that I was hanging out with, it afforded me the opportunity to get involved with that stuff. And my dad always wanted me to play sports. I was good at sports for the most part, but again, I always had this like desire to self-destruct, and I feel like it had a pretty, I don't know, I guess positive effect on my brother and sister, maybe a negative one. But my brother's 3 years younger than me. We're worlds apart. I love the guy to death. I actually wish we were a lot closer growing up. And even currently, but him seeing just the insane shit that I was doing really sent him down a more positive path. And then my sister seeing that as well, she's 3 years younger than him, so 6 total under me. You know, I'll definitely say that I showed them the road that you don't want to be traveling down. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of like the internal family dynamic. Parents were married. It got a little weird because my father's strict Irish Catholic. My mom converted to Jehovah's Witness.
Really?
Dude, when I was like 8 years old or something.
How the fuck did that happen?
Bro, I don't know. All I know is like, I used to get scared shitless when the people with like the cloaks basically, and they're just long jackets so they don't show their skin, they just show up to the house. And my mom for a long time, I don't know if you had them in your area growing up or not, but my mom would turn the lights off in the house and like huddle us in the kitchen. And these people would be like knocking on the windows being like, we're here to tell you about Jesus. And even now, like thinking about it, like scares the shit out of me, just because to be with your mother, like curled down like that, like watch out for these bad people. And then all of a sudden, she is one of them.
Do you have any idea how that happened?
She let one of them talk to her one day, and basically, this was, was this after 9/11 or just before it? If I was 7, 8 years old, I don't know exactly when she converted, but maybe she had gotten laid off work and was maybe seeking some sort of purpose or something like that. My mom's always been a very adventurous soul. Left her farm, like one out of two kids who actually left the farm out of 9. And I give her a lot of props and respect for that. She's a very ballsy move, young lady leaving her hometown like that. But I think that she's always had this natural sense of curiosity and adventure, and perhaps that drove her down that road. But man, I can tell you what, I'm never going to be a fucking Jehovah's Witness.
What was, I guess, the things that stood out as being exceptionally obscure, or that surprised you once she did convert to that?
Well, my father's reaction. I knew this wasn't something that they were on the same page as. She used to sneak us to her meetings when my dad would be at work. He worked a lot, long hours downtown and stuff.
What did he do?
He was the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, which, however you picture that guy's personality to be, is exactly how my father's personality is. Not saying that's good or bad. It's just light years apart from myself. I think I take after my mom more in that regard. But it was, man, when I see kids whose parents go through divorce now, and like the arguing aspect of it all, I didn't even go through that much of the arguing phase, but it got really freaking severe, and that had a very significant impact on my observations. As a kid, where do you go when mom and dad are fighting?
So that was the catalyst for them getting divorced?
No, they're still together.
Oh, no shit.
They're still together, dude.
How do they make that work?
I have no freaking clue. My parents don't really talk to me. Like, I'll try to have a conversation with my father, and he just doesn't. He's incapable of having any conversation with his son whatsoever. Like, my best friend dies, he walks in the room and he tells me who put that pillow on the floor, and then walks out. Like that type of shit.
Is he that way with your siblings too?
Yeah, I think that has to do with his father, Chicago firefighter. Heartbreak Ridge, 2nd Infantry Division, Korea War vet, wounded, So the guy was just a hard ass himself, but then I look at his father, and this is kind of where that generational thing kind of starts making sense to me. Man, talk about like some dysfunctional family shit. That great grandparent generation was pretty wild.
Yeah. You mentioned twice your desire to self-destruct, and I would love to, if you want to call it, unpack, for lack of less popular vernacular. Did you have the sense that you actually had a desire to do it, or you just found yourself in positions where you allowed it to happen?
I sought them out.
Really?
I had a good upbringing. My father worked insanely hard. Government job, steady paycheck, nice middle-class home. They both loved me in their own way. Not that my father wasn't like I love you type of a guy, but he fucking worked his ass off. And I just, for whatever reason, dude, wanted to explore the world of drugs and alcohol and everything else that just came along with that. Just kept diving me further and further down those rabbit holes. So.
Do you think that it was a lack of stimulation or boredom or anything like that? Because to me, I see that a lot nowadays with kids that don't play outside, like they have no chores, like they have no real purpose growing up, and so it's kind of the idle hands or the devil's workshop kind of thing, is that they go down those paths a lot of times because of stuff like that. Did that play any role, or was there something else to it?
You bring up a couple of really great points in that question. How old are you again?
46.
46, so.
I'll be 47 in a couple weeks.
8 years older than me. So you know how it was back in the day. You found your friends based off the stack of bikes.
Yeah.
You go around, you find your friends, and then you guys would figure out something to do. And usually that, for us, consisted of like hitting each other with sticks or stick wars, throwing rocks at each other. For me, what initially brought me into it was the purpose, and I talk a lot about purpose these days, especially for vets, and why so many of us kill ourselves is because there's just no freaking purpose after that life, especially when you dedicate yourself at such a high level and you give it everything. But even as a child, you need to have some sort of a purpose. Well, what is that purpose? It needs to be guided by the parents. And perhaps that was something my mom always encouraged me to explore things, but didn't really have any sort of like guidelines or boundaries as far as what that could look like. And so in the pursuit of girls, to be honest, when I think about it, I'm like, why did I do the drugs and the alcohol? Well, it's because my whole purpose in life was to try to get laid by the cool chicks. And when I look at the very first person who ever offered me drugs, super hot chick who was 2 years older than me. And we never did hook up, unfortunately. A couple years later, she ended up being the first person to pull a gun on me as well. But yeah, I don't think she's thinking about that anymore these days. But yeah, so I would say that it's just the desire to explore. It's the lack of direction and the lack of identity in that purpose. Yeah. And then, of course, once you start using that stuff, I don't know, did you ever use drugs?
I didn't. No, I never got into that. But.
Yeah, it's almost like this door opens because there are some good experiences, right? You take acid or mushrooms for the first time, you're like, man, I could see like the new dimensions. Maybe I should explore this even harder. And then a year goes by and you're smoking crack and eating handfuls of shrooms on a regular basis. It just becomes counterintuitive, counterproductive. But that initial aha moment is really what I think sucks people in because they think they could balance that and manage that forever.
What age were you when you first tried anything?
First time I remember first sip of beer, I was like 9 years old. My cousins up in the country, you might appreciate this. I'm a city boy. And when I say they're from the country, my mom, you take a dirt road to get to her dirt road.
Yeah.
Like it's in the middle of nowhere, Michigan. And they gave me a sip of Bud Ice, which was 5.7% alcohol. I still remember this. I don't even think they make Bud Ice anymore. And he hands me some Copenhagen, like mint dip. And I'm watching them take it, and I've never taken this shit before. And I put it in my mouth, and I swallow, like the saliva. I started hurling up, puking so hard. And I must have been about like 9 years old at this time. My cousin still brings that up to this day, 30 years later. And but after that, I remember getting pretty wasted off gin, which I haven't had since when I was about 11. And then 12 was when we started smoking weed and drinking on a pretty regular basis.
What about what age were you when you did the first hard drugs?
Early in high school. So when high school was talking about that desire for self-destruction. I don't know why I thought that was the cool thing to be. The burnout, dopey fucking kid on drugs. But for whatever reason, I did, and I just immediately, every chance and opportunity that I can get into something, I was pursuing that. And the older kids thought, in that group of doped out idiots, to be honest, they thought that was cool that this young kid wanted to come in and hang. And so I would say, man, I got kicked out of 2 high schools. Went to like a juvie rehab program, like a daytime juvie school. But high school was crazy. 13, 14, snorting cocaine.
Is there a way to characterize the frequency with which you used hard drugs from the time you started until, we'll say, 18 or whenever you stopped?
Yeah, daily, man. I mean, now, did I use cocaine and heroin and crack on a daily basis throughout that time frame? No. It would start probably more intermittently, hanging out at these people's houses in specific portions of the city, these groups that I used to hang out with, and they would have access to it. But it wasn't like a lot. It would be like a little 40 bag of cocaine, and we're taking little bumps off of it and making that last a couple hours. And then a few days will go by, or next weekend perhaps. But by the time I was 16 years old, man, I was taking hard shit so much that I honestly do not remember a lot of high school. I just don't remember a lot of it.
I mean, to me, there's an aspect of that when at that age, your frontal cortex is still underdeveloped. You're still growing.
Yeah.
To put that amount of synthetic, gnarly chemicals in your body that often, does that show up now at all in terms of memory loss or cognition? Do you have any problems with anything that way now?
It's hard to tell what's from the drugs and what's from just concussions over the years, but I'll say I wonder a lot. And if not now, at what point will I be walking around like Ozzy Osbourne, mumbling and stuff like that? So maybe I got lucky and I did a bunch and then stopped while my brain was still in enough of development to where I've become, I think, a pretty intelligent person over the years. Wasn't when I first stopped.
How old were you when you stopped?
Just turned like 18 and a half-ish. I still remember to this day exactly when I decided to stop. But yeah, it was like December of 2005.
Okay. Yeah. So for a few years, you were doing hard shit day in, day out.
Yeah, especially the heroin, I'd say was about 1.5 to 2 years from 16 to 18.
Was that all heating it up on a spoon, shooting it up, shit you see out of a movie kind of style, or what?
Some of it was. A lot of it was snorting because that was just simpler to me. But then some of my other buddies started getting heavy into the needles, and it always weirded me out that they shared needles with each other, 'cause AIDS and HIV or whatever. Plus, they're like scumbags, man. They'd throw these needles out of a moving vehicle, and I remember we're like driving by a school. What are you doing, man?
Yeah.
They're just high. They don't give a shit. And so did shoot it up a lot. I mean, 100 times-ish, maybe a few more, but a lot of snorting.
Yeah. Is there a difference high-wise?
Yeah. Now, I don't know what the stuff they have nowadays is, and thank God that they did not have fentanyl back then, because what a lot of people don't understand with that addiction and that community of people, if you want, is if you OD, that's like that's some good dope.
Yeah.
Like, man, dude, you OD'd. Oh, that must be some good shit. We gotta go get more of those blue baggies.
Yeah.
And so people look for that because it's pushing you to the edge. The high is so intense. But in terms of snorting versus shooting it up, back then at least, you snort it, you feel it, it floods down over your body. You feel pretty good. But when you would shoot it up, it was just like a more in-depth. It was like embedding itself into your core. Like you could feel it. Instead of just coursing through your veins, it was like leaking out of your veins and your arteries and going into your bones, and just like every aspect of you would very quickly become overwhelmed by it. And the sickness was a lot worse too. That's one thing that kept me from, I think, becoming full-fledged addicted, is that the sickness was so violent whenever I would shoot it up that it deterred me from wanting to do that.
Well, can you talk more about the sickness? I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah. So, talking about this stuff is really strange for two reasons. I'll just preface really quickly here so you kind of understand why I'm going through like a flood of emotions. Is one, it's like reliving an experience, And so even though I don't get physically sick from it, I used to for a long time. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Trainspotting. Oh, man, I think that's the one with Jared Leto where he's a dope addict, or whatever movie with Jared Leto, I forget. Or like with Leo DiCaprio, where he gets hooked on heroin, Basketball Diaries. You ever watch those movies? Man, I used to get physically ill because it's such a real experience. But the sickness it's like a flu in your bones, and you're so tired, but yet you can't sleep. It's like you're on like stimulants, but no sleep. And so you want to just pass out and die, but your bones are like burning. It's like your bones are grinding somehow. It's like they're fragmented into a bunch of shards. Like if you took your bone and just like put it into 1 million different glass shards, and then just place it all, like every single thing, convulsion. And then of course you're puking, you're insanely nauseous, you can't keep anything down. It's like a combination of the flu with food poisoning, with being just blasted in the head with a baseball bat. And it just, once you think you're done, it'll just like come right back at you.
Now this is every time you take it? Like when you're coming down or during?
Well, when you're coming down off it, like even when you take it, you get like a little nauseous, especially when you first start out. And that was one thing that almost actually kept me from ever doing it again, was I got really nauseous. But then the guy I was with, idiot, was like, no, you just got to do it again, and it goes away. And I listened to him like a dumbass. But you don't really let yourself go through that again. Like, so when you start, that's why dope sickness is such a bitch for recovery, because I'm not going to go through that. I'm going to buy 10, 20, 50 bags of dope, $5, $10, depending upon where you're going, where you're getting it from, bulk sale, whatever. And you go home, you stash it, and now you've got your, like, wellness stash, if you will. The thing that you're taking the small bumps on just so you could avoid the sickness, which is slowly diving you further into that addiction and dependency. And this is where a lot of people screw up, is because they think that I'm just doing a little bit to keep myself from getting sick. And then you have your, well, I'm gonna get high tonight batch. And so then you basically like partition that out however you do, or at least that's how I used to do it.
Yeah.
So you don't let yourself get sick, man, because you can't function. You cannot function.
How long does that last?
Man, I laid up in my girlfriend's bed when I decided to stop for a week. And the real violent portion, I'd say 3 days, depending upon the level of addiction.
Yeah.
But I did not leave her bed for a week. Her mom actually was concerned that I literally died in her bedroom, because she saw me go in and knew I was in there the whole time. And she was like, is he on like drugs and blah, blah, blah. But it was about a week. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah. It says that you OD'd 3 times before the age of 18.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, were they ODs to the point where like you had to go to the hospital and?
No, it's the way I found out that I even had OD'd was the waking up experience was very unusual this one time. I remember, you ever have sleep paralysis? Mm-mm. You never had sleep paralysis? You were like, you're getting attacked by a demon and you want to fight him off, but you can't?
Yeah, I get, like in a dream?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I have. I guess I didn't realize the term associated with it, but yeah.
Yeah, so, actual sleep paralysis is like that, but you're also consciously awake. You can't open your eyes, but you're like stuck in bed and it literally feels like somebody's holding you down. So I was having like this sleep paralysis moment, and then all of a sudden, like things started almost like getting further and further away. And then I realized I wasn't breathing. And I decided, I was like, okay, well, I can't physically move my body, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna consciously inhale. And when I did that, it was very freaky, because it was almost like I was re-inhaling my spirit, and my chest immediately began to rise. It was almost like I was choking myself out. And everything was shaded, orange, white, all this other. And so it was a really unusual wake-up experience that I was describing to one of my dopehead friends. And he was like, yeah, that's you OD'd, bro, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know if there's much truth behind that or not, but that's happened to me on a handful of occasions.
Yeah. What was the moment that made you decide you were done with it?
Watching in December of 2005, I watched my best friend John graduate Marine Corps boot camp, and I was floored. He was never involved in the heavy shit at that time with me, but very close. Lived with him and his family for a period of time in my life. Currently married to his sister. And when I saw how much he could change in such a short period of time, man, my brain just was like, there's got to be more to life than this. And I don't want him to go, it's 2005, right? I don't want him to go to war alone. And so 1 year to the day, ended up graduating myself.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So obviously it was, from that point on, you were full speed ahead with the Marines, and that's what you wanted to do. Was recon or MARSOC kind of in your mind at that point, or was it you just wanted to be a Marine and that came later?
Yeah, it was just really, I didn't even know what recon MARSOC didn't even exist back then, So I just went to the recruiter's office after I got clean, waited a few months. I even quit smoking cigarettes and everything. That took about another 2. And then went to the recruiter's office. I was like, yeah, sign me up for that infantry job. And my girlfriend at the time was, she ended up talking me out of it. Maybe it was for good purpose or not, but I'll never forget, the recruiter had a guy who just graduated BRC come do like recruit duty, whatever they call that thing. And he was like, this guy's gonna take you for a run. This dude smoked the shit out of me, man. And he was not even breathing hard. And I just remember, and I just got off drugs, you know. I'm not in physical. I weighed 120 pounds when I joined the Marine Corps, man.
Wow.
Yeah, it was not a physical specimen by any means whatsoever. And this dude destroyed me. And I was like, what's his job? And he was like, recon. I was like, fuck that. I'm never going down that road. Yeah. But years later, ultimately ended up doing something pretty similar.
Yeah. Can you walk us through kind of the path of from joining until you had that opportunity to go to recon? All right, look, half-ass sleep equals half-ass results. You can train like a beast, eat clean, hit the cold plunge, but if you're overheating in bed, none of it matters. Quality sleep isn't always about how long you sleep, but how well you sleep. And science tells us temperature plays a massive role in that. Quality sleep is a non-negotiable. Recovery doesn't happen in the gym, it happens when you're dead asleep. But if you're tossing, turning, and sweating, you're gonna wreck your performance. The chili pad isn't just for professional athletes or special operations. It's for anyone who wants to sleep hard and recover harder. You set your exact sleep temp anywhere from 55 degrees to 115 degrees and let the chili pad do the rest. It's built for performance. You can set it cold as hell at night and then you can let it gently warm you up in the morning so you wake up ready to go. No alarms, no thermostat fights with your spouse. They sent me one, I tried it, and now it's part of my nightly kit. I'm getting deeper sleep, no night sweats, and I wake up sharp. Visit www.sleep.me/MikeDrop to get 20% off your chili pad with code MikeDrop, all caps, all one word. That's free shipping, free returns, and a 30-night sleep trial to test it for yourself. Again, that's www.sleep.me/MikeDrop. Sleep cooler, recover faster, perform better.
Yeah, so I never went to recon. Okay. I was a truck driver. Because when my girl talked me out of the infantry thing, I was like, well, what's the next best thing? I was like, man, a truck driver. You know, I pictured myself rolling in hot, you know, machine guns on the back of the truck, like lighting everything up, friggin' saving a bunch of dudes who were in bad ambush site. And nope, that was not really the case whatsoever. Went to boot camp, went to the training school, and dude, I swear to God, Motor T in the Marine Corps at least has got to just be full of some of the most thug-ass motherfuckers I've ever seen in my life, dude. I don't know what it is about that job. Maybe it's the low barrier to entry requirements. But yeah, when I showed up to my platoon, the first thing the guy literally said was, go turn a wrench or I'm gonna beat the fucking shit out of you. And I was like, what the? I was like, where am I? And everybody there, and literally we had multiple incidents where there was crazy hospitalizations due to brawls, like in the barracks and stuff. And I was like, where am I? So did a little bit of time. I got sent out to Okinawa, Japan, which was awesome, beautiful. I wanted that. I wanted to travel. I want to see the world. Remember, my mind is now open to more, and I wanted to do everything that I possibly could. So then they put me on what's called the MU, Marine Expeditionary Unit, where we go on ship for a period of time and do a bunch of training exercises. Meanwhile, Iraq's kicking off, man, and I feel like I'm wasting my life away, but at the same time I want to be present and take advantage of the opportunity to do like a Westpac, all these Pacific nations and stuff. I think I went to like 12 countries or something like that, trained with all their militaries, lived out in the rugged wilderness with them, got to see a lot of really cool things that most people never really do get to see. But man, I tell you what, dude, even when I went to the MU, those motherfuckers were like hardcore thug gangsters from the Bronx, man, and I'm a 120-pound corporal trying to tell this PFC who just got let out the brig, like, yo, dude, go start up them trucks. He's like 6'5", 200 pounds. It helped me manage my people skills, my relationships a little bit, I think, because how do you get somebody who could literally put you in the fucking hospital to do something that they don't want to do? Yeah. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Yeah. But yeah, man.
How long did you do the truck driver gig for?
4 years. I never planned to stay in. I wanted to get out, go to college. My buddy John had already been out for a year when I was already at my 3-year mark. So I went from Okinawa and the MU to Camp Pendleton, California. I was like, where can I go? I want to go to Afghanistan. And they're like, all right, cool, we got you. We're going to send you to the most pogue unit possible on this entire camp that's never going to deploy anywhere. And I was like, I was so pissed. I literally requested mass to the Commandant of the Marine Corps. Like, I was so pissed that I went through the formal process of submitting a letter saying the commandant said any Marine who wants to go fight will get to go fight. And that made it up to my battalion sergeant major. It didn't make it anywhere, dude. This guy put me in his office and chewed my ass out for like 3 hours straight. It was so bad, my gunny was like, go home afterwards. Go rest, because that was exhausting. But a few weeks later, got myself over in Afghanistan. So I went from Afghanistan back to California and then got out, literally 3 weeks later. I got back on July 4th, 2010, and then July 23rd, I was just out because I did my 4-year contract and got out. Didn't know what I was going to do, so I lived out of my car, driving across the country for about 4 or 5 months, something like that. Settled back in California. I had a cool beachfront property in Oceanside. Just literally, you're the sand, you know, and this is my front porch, so I wanted to keep that as long as I could. And I started going to school to be a paramedic. And I thought that was going to be the new path that I would go down, but man, I started doing some dumb shit, got into a relationship with a married chick, and I think that was a big catalyst for California not working out for me. But I always wanted to do more. In 2010, as I was leaving, I ran into a MARSOC team over in Kabul. And I don't know why, but the dudes sat down, these 2 guys from the team, and they were talking to me, and you know, they were doing their thing, having their own conversations, but they were just letting me kind of be a fly on the wall type thing and ask a few questions, because MARSOC was new. Marine Corps never had a special operations component. And the dude just, man, he struck a chord with me. I don't know why. I just thought that I always wanted to do more. And 2 days later, he ended up dying. His name was Chris Antonik. Like 2 or 4 days later, something like that. I stepped on the IED, from my understanding. And dude, I don't know why that just bothered me. That really just bothered me, the reality of it all, because I had never lost anybody in the military before. And not to even say that I had lost him, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So about a year later, I'm in paramedic school, and I was just like, just look up some Marine Corps admin stuff, see what's been happening. And that day they posted, hey, if you're in the inactive reserves, so if you did 4 years, your 4 years after that are the inactive reserve time, you could try out for MARSOC selection. And this is 2011. And I just kind of took that as a sign. So finagled my way into selection somehow. And it was not an easy finagling. There's a lot of ups and downs, unknowns. I literally got a phone call and they were like, can you go to selection in 3 weeks? And this is after like months of trying to get in and basically looking like that door had closed. But I was like, sure. And then.
Were you in decent shape at that time? Yeah,
I was still. And when people talk about mindset and things, is like I was still training as if though I was going to go, even though I felt as if though that door had been shut. But I was still running like a crazy amount. I was about 150, 60 pounds maybe. I was rucking all the time. I was just going to school, living off the GI Bill, surfing and doing selection style fitness stuff. Yeah. And that's just, that was my whole life.
And did you make it straight through? Did you have any hiccups or?
Somehow, I don't know, dude. I thought I bombed selection like so bad because I had a couple of bad days of land nav. The second event we did, carrying those damn jerry cans. I'm sure you guys have, nobody tells you it's hard to carry those freaking jerry cans for 3 miles. And I just thought that I did horrible, but it was kind of cool. Years later, I got to go work at Selection as a contractor, and my buddy opened up my file for me, and he let me take a look at like my file. And it was actually really interesting to see the reason why I got selected. But yeah, I got selected on the first.
Do you remember, or can you share the reason why it said you did?
Well, with respect to the program and those guys, what I will say is that I displayed the attributes they were looking for.
Yeah.
And even though you do need to have physical strength, there is an endurance and a physical strength requirement, just like all the other components. They're looking for the right person, not necessarily the best person in all those categories. And so I surprisingly displayed the attributes of somebody whom they were looking for.
Yeah.
And I will. Yeah, I'll just kind of leave it there.
Expectation versus reality, was selection everything you kind of assumed or thought it would be, or were there some big surprises?
I was surprised at how much land nav sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought land nav was going to be fun. When I was training to refresh myself, because I never really knew much land navigation, but I had a good buddy who was in the Army Infantry, and I had some Camp Pendleton maps, so we would go out there, and I'm thinking it's going to be like a great time. Dude, land nav really sucked a lot, broke me the hell down, but you just keep going. And yeah, for me it was hard. For me it was physically hard, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it all at Camp Pendleton?
No, selection, I was living in California. So as I prepped, I was going back and forth to the base. I got myself put into a reserve unit. It was just easier to get sponsorship that way, to go to selection. And selection is over on the East Coast.
Okay.
So yeah, they'll fly out to the East Coast.
Yeah. How long is it?
In total, it's like 6 weeks-ish.
Okay.
And then it's broken into a couple of different phases. But the whole thing is a selection and assessment. And so there's like a preparatory few weeks, which is preparatory, but it's still selection. And then there's the part where they cut half the people out, and then they only go with a select few to a particular area to do the final selection portion.
Yeah. Do you remember how many guys actually made it versus how many started in your group?
Roughly, I want to say we had like 160 initially that showed up to selection at Camp Lejeune. And I think they only take about I'll say between 100 to 130-ish up to the other location. And then in terms of, I don't even remember, man. I think maybe like 60 people.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong on that. But I do remember that it was 1.5 buses like that we had taken up there. So it wasn't a lot of people at all.
For sure less than half than started.
I think so, yeah. About half, 60, 50%.
Yeah. Where did you go first after that?
So after selection, you go to ITC, East Coast, and I think MARSOC has actually consolidated all their resources now over to the East Coast, so they don't even have a Camp Pendleton battalion anymore. It's all over at Lejeune. Wish I would have bought housing before that happened, tell you that much right now. But ITC, so the individual training course, at the time it was 9 months long. That was an interesting experience for me. Everybody hated my fucking guts.
Really?
Oh, man.
Why?
Because I was too laissez-faire. Like, I'm showing up, I dropped out of paramedic school. I've been out of the Marine Corps for like a year and a half. Reserve unit doesn't really count. I just drove across country. I'm all rugged and just basically, hey, bro, like, where's the check-in? And dude, the Marine Corps, for whatever reason, the first thing they always say is, why are you acting like a SEAL? Which I thought was kind of funny. Like, I didn't even know I was doing that. And that's something I got for years and years after. But yeah, man, they just eat that type of behavior up alive. Like, they don't like it. And so it took me an adjustment period. It was actually so bad that there was you got 4 teams in ITC, about 20 students each, so about 80 people start ITC. And Team 2 was known for being like the savage team. Like, in the first like couple months, they were just, you fucking suck, get out of here. And you're talking big dudes too, like force recon dudes, infantry dudes. It was a meat eater of a team, snipers. And I got moved about a few months in from Team 4 to Team 2, which at that point, it was like me and like these 3 other guys where it was like, you're on the chopping block because you're not doing good on the peer reviews. And dude, they just started like trying to come at me and stuff. And that's when I was like, dude, what is the deal with this whole thing? And finally somebody broke it to me. They're like, nobody feels like you take this seriously. And it's not that I didn't take it seriously, but it's just that they weren't used to somebody with my demographic coming into that type of an environment. And so for whatever reason, that's how they took it. But I am very proud to say that I survived Team 2.
Yeah.
And became a member eventually.
How long were you there for?
9 months is what the course was. I think they've added language to that now or something. They didn't have. I was only the 10th class.
Okay.
So it was.
So the Team 4 and Team 2 thing is during ITC?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you prove yourself enough to stick with Team 2, make it all the way through. Mm-hmm. Where did you first go after ITC? 2nd
Battalion.
Yeah. Where's that at?
Camp Lejeune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like when you first checked in, and how long were you there before you deployed the first time as a Raider?
I got lucky, man. I again, for whatever reason, was chosen out of the handful of people that did go to 2nd Battalion. We knew that was the most kinetic. We knew that was the battalion that was doing the most work. And so I chose that one because we had regionalized while I was in ITC, so I was kind of pissed I didn't get to go back to Cali, but I was coming in to do work, man. Like, I didn't want to do anything else. And so I got picked up by a team who was getting ready to deploy, and I would say probably 8 months after I graduated, maybe a little bit less, we were out the door heading back to Afghanistan.
Yeah. Was that first deployment going to Afghanistan now as a MARSOC guy? Can you kind of speak to the differences between your prior experiences there and now you're there doing kind of the varsity squad type of stuff?
Yeah, it was definitely different in the aspect that, well, in a lot of ways it was similar to begin with. Like, we got dropped off by the plane, we're on the tarmac, and nobody was there to pick us up. Like, man, that's pretty similar. But it was different because, you know, once you hop on that bird, you fly out to your fob, and we were out in the middle of Helmand, middle of nowhere. And it's like, okay, it's starting to kind of sink in a little bit. You're kind of taking in the sights, the smells, the sounds. And then you crack open those weapons containers, and you start kind of getting the orientation from the team that's there. Start loading up the live grenades, start loading up the 40 mic into your belt, and it was fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, I just felt like finally I'm in a place where we're gonna go get to do some work, and I know it's gonna be hard, but at the same time, you know, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, like that's what you signed up for. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that deployment pretty kinetic and busy? No.
Dude, it started off like awesome. So the turnover, the left seat, right seat, which I was not a part of. I was too busy subduing some crazy drunk chick at a house party for our to-go, but that's a story for another time. Yeah, it was like 50-year-old woman. Anyways, dude, yeah, we had it all on camera when the cop showed up. I'm just going to say that much. She was out of line. So that was one of the most kinetic turnovers that any of those experienced dudes had ever had, because all of my leadership, and I don't think a lot of people appreciate or understand what I'm about to say here when it comes to a lot of the guys. Like, you know, you were in from what years?
From 96 to 08.
Dude, mad respect, because people just don't understand the level of violence and the level of risk that you guys have endured. And that was all my leadership. All the dudes as I'm coming up through the pipeline, you would see like a Alpha's day or Charlie's uniform day. I'll never forget, I looked around, everybody had Purple Hearts.
Yeah.
Everybody had Purple Hearts. Almost everybody had Bronze V's, Silver Stars, Navy Cross. Like, I'm getting chills just thinking about it, because to be a part of that community was a true honor.
Yeah, I mean, from I'd say 01 to 07, 08, like that block of time was just fucking, I mean, it was crazy. You know?
Rocking and rolling.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, so yeah, we get there. We set out, and so for them to say it was like the most kinetic, and a guy, Aaron Torian, had just died, 7th deployment, just hardcore dude, a legend in the community. And so they were like, just be ready. You know, we did our first mission out into the, what do they call it, the dash, the desert out there. And like 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers down the road, like we're in a tick. So I was kind of like, cool, this is awesome. Didn't get much in on that. I was a driver that night, so I'm just basically maneuvering vehicles, and we kind of kept our distance. Did another operation, which was like started to ramp up a little bit. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, now we're starting to get into like little ticks, little fights and things like that. Nothing too crazy intense. And then all of a sudden Ramadan hits, and we get the command to be like, they're like, hey, you're going to retrograde. And we were just like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Like, I just went through all this training, came back in the Marine Corps, got my ass back here by chance to Afghanistan. We're just starting to get into it. And now we're getting told to retrograde. We're like taking batteries onto pallets and stuff, and it was pretty frustrating. But you got to do a couple more cool operations. It was a unique environment, but ultimately it wasn't the most kinetic, no.
Yeah. From I guess the MU standpoint, you did 3 deployments there, right?
Yeah, 3 MUs, yeah.
Yeah. After that Afghanistan deployment not being what you were kind of hoping for, at least, for the long term, did you end up getting to scratch that itch in subsequent deployments or experience?
Do you ever?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's all subjective.
Yeah, like that. That's one thing I've learned over the years is I have gotten to do more things, especially before my career took a big turn. I mean, 2016 against ISIS, setting the conditions for Mosul. I mean, it wasn't Mosul, but it was cool, man. I mean, we burnt a whole fucking city to the ground. It was awesome.
I guess, can you walk us through from that first Afghanistan deployment through the next few where you were really kind of going balls to the wall?
Yeah, for sure. So 3 Mews, first Afghan pump, unique northern Afghanistan. That was that conventional time period. Get back in, MARSOC, do the first Afghan pump, kind of gets cut short. I will say that deployment, though, also really did affect me a lot in terms of seeing how the command staff operates. At that point in time, that really affected a lot of my decision making later on in the other deployments and stuff, because we basically get shut down, and then all of a sudden some new CJ Sotif commander comes in and he's pissed we're not running ops. Team 4 stands up. That ends up being the night that Chuck Strong gets killed in an insider attack. Discern takes a couple of rounds through his leg, pretty severely wounded. He made a full recovery, and then also the reporting on the Afghan forces. Why are you saying they're not good? Because they're not. They suck. And getting chewed out for that type of stuff really jaded me fast, because I was like, what are we even doing here? Then I get back and I find out that I'm getting bumped up companies. So in MARSOC, we've always been very understaffed, which, hey, cool, man, sign me up. I'm not married. I got no kids. A lot of these people do. Run me 100 miles an hour. Where am I going to go? You're going to go to hotel company. Awesome. Great company. Historic. Great group of people. It's the one we just ripped out with. You're going to go to Team 3, one of the more senior teams. Perfect. Awesome. If there's any kinetic operations, 2nd Battalion Hotel Company on a senior team, you're getting that fucking mission. And it was us in Team 1. And then about a month after I get there, I go to free fall school. I come back, and that's when the first helicopter crashed. And that really threw a wrench in things. I don't know if you're familiar with that at all. The Raider 7 down in Pensacola, Florida,
Yeah.
Destin. So that was the sister team. Just starting to get to know those dudes, whatever. And then it just became like a funeral, just rally, man. I mean, you gotta think 2 ceremonies basically per person. You have a memorial service and you have the actual funeral. And then you're not wanting to, even though multiple guys are being buried at Arlington, you don't want to have them all on the same day, because you want to give everybody in their family that level of respect. I don't even know if you could, to be honest. Arlington is such a business, how many people they run through there. But that diverted the training for a little while. We had to restructure some things. I stayed with the same team. I actually got promoted because of that in terms of position in the teams, because we just lost a bunch of experienced dudes, very experienced dudes. Without a doubt, MARSOC has never experienced a loss of experience and leadership like they did on that first helicopter crash.
Do you know what happened? I mean, was it just a total fluke accident?
So the last thing that I found out, in terms of publicly available information, I guess, is the pilot got vertigo, perhaps. So they went out, the maritime fog layer was coming in. They were going to do a nighttime, a helo cast, ride the Zodes in. Being the dudes they were, they're conditions are not, permissible. Let's just fly the birds out there, see if they are or not, and make that call. So they fly out there, they turn around. It's just not, you can't see anything. And apparently the pilot got vertigo. Some people say that maybe a piece of equipment malfunctioned, but the last radio transmission, if I remember correctly, was something about -2 or is increasing elevation, seeing if we could break past this. And what he basically did was he accelerated down into the water.
Wow. Yeah, I remember when that happened. Just fucking heartbreaking, man.
Yeah, it was I thought I was getting drug tested.
Yeah.
I actually thought that the morning of, I'm getting this phone call at like 4 a.m. and they're like, hey, you need to make it into the company office now. And we all show up out there. We're like, what is going on? And yeah.
So I guess reeling from that and now having to, go through all of that, whether it's, the actual ceremonies themselves, but also having that, hey, we still have a job to do. Now we're down a bunch of guys, a bunch of senior leadership, et cetera. How did that kind of flurry of responding to that professionally take place?
Seamless, man. As callous as that might sound, MARSOC is full of a lot of really great professionals. I felt a massive obligation to uphold any standard that I possibly could. But at the same time, things in my own personal life were unraveling at a faster rate than they ever had before.
In what way?
So I mentioned I was in a relationship with this chick who was married, and she kept stringing me along saying she's going to leave him. Finally, she does leave him, comes out to the East Coast. I go on that first deployment. She goes back to California, tells me she gets raped. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but, says that she's assaulted sexually and is pregnant. And I'm just like, okay. Years of sneaking around, finally you leave this guy, and now this happens, and, I was gonna father the child, but she wasn't being honest about it. You could tell in the story that she was telling. Turns out she was just letting it up, whatever. So that just happened. Then a chick who I was hooking up with shortly thereafter, things were going good, she ghosts me, and this actually happened in February of 2015, so a month before the helicopter crash. She shoots me a message out of nowhere. She goes, hey, I wasn't going to tell you this, but I had an abortion. I was pregnant with your kid, and I freaked out. She was a widow. Her husband died in a car accident, I guess, a couple years prior, had a 9-year-old child. So she freaked out, and I don't blame her at all. I just wanted to know she was all right. But these are all like things that I've never imagined even experiencing or going through before, right? It's now in the teams, I go to Afghan, I get held back. This chick who I loved is like knocked up, telling me she got assaulted. I'm hiring private detectives, trying to figure out who the guy is so I can go do things to him, and then I realize she's lying. This other chick ghosts me. She tells me she aborted a baby. I'm just like, this is kind of starting to really get crazy. And of course I'm drinking more because that's just what you're supposed to do, and helicopter crashes. So I really started to feel like professionally, I owed a lot to the community, to those guys, to their families. But at the same time, I wish I would have done things a lot better looking back.
Yeah. When was the next time that you actually rotated back from an operational standpoint in country?
Yeah.
From the crash until you went back over?
January. So we had to finish the workup. We were slated to go out in January against ISIS in Iraq, so we did. One MARSOC team had made it there before us, an ODA before them, so it was pretty fresh territory, pretty cool. Different than the Afghan war. We didn't have Ospreys coming in for Kazovac in 10 minutes, It was like, hey, you have an 8-hour Kazovac plan. Don't get wounded. And so that was pretty interesting. And then to be in northern the Kurdistan region, I don't know if you ever made it up there at all.
No, the furthest north we ever were was to Crete, so it was
okay.
Just shy of there, but...
Yeah,
I know a lot of people that have been there, but
dude, cool people, man. Best partner force I ever had. It was just really interesting to see a front lines, like an actual forward line of troops.
Yeah.
There's the enemy, here's us. And so we started that in January, wintertime, started to do some targeting because Sinjar had just stopped. So we needed to create the next mission for the conditions for Mosul because we all knew that's where we were going. And yes, we started acquiring battlefield intelligence, heading out to the front line, doing some targeting strikes, kind of getting a feel for the battle space, and the restrictions that we had were insane. For 1-star target engagement authority is a fucking joke. To the conventional army, 1-star had to give us approvals to strike the technical that we could see. And it was that's when we started that one.
How long were you in that area for?
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
Were there any significant operations or things that took place that you can share from that deployment?
Oh man, there was a couple. The first one I would say think it was March 3rd of 2016, something like that. So I'm on watch all night long. That's fine. We're doing a lot of handheld drone stuff. Like that's what we're just starting to crack into, is that whole realm of things. And I'm on the post, front line, looking at ISIS town, making sure nobody's in the white space, of course, like real fire watch, not no one's gonna come and attack us, like legit. You know, these guys were sneaking up in like trash bag ghillie suits, where they had like thermal lining, so you couldn't even see them on the thermals. It was pretty smart. But all of a sudden, the morning time's coming, and there's the village, and there's this mountain behind the village, and there's this just massive, thick fog. It looks like a black smoke just slowly engulfing the entire mountainside. Yeah. And it's working its way down, and then it starts engulfing the village. And I'm kind of getting on high alert, and it's not moving fast, but it's like, man, if this works its way over to us before the sun breaks it up, obviously this is providing incredible cover for these guys to like do something. So I'm looking out there, sun's up, nods are off, and the SEALs over at Mosul Dam had actually been in a tick for the last couple of hours, and I was watching that popcorn show take place, of course, listening to it on the radio, just being like, man, these guys, and they were getting it pretty good, dude. And it wasn't just one-way tracers either. It was like, I was watching them get into a really serious gunfight, most intense one I had ever seen by far at that point in time, and an intense one by all standards. All of a sudden, though, from the baseline of that fog that's starting to engulf like the village, I see this like white cloud start to manifest. And I'm like, dude, I think I'm tapped. You know, I've been up all night, staring at computer screens, doing watch. I think I need to go get replaced because I'm starting to see shit. And then all of a sudden, from that little white ball, I see this smoke trail. And now I'm sitting there for a moment really wondering, like, dude, are you tripping and you need some serious sleep? Because as you know, when you go like an ITC or Buzz or whatever, you get those extended periods of time, you start seeing gremlins dancing all over you. And
all kinds of weird shit.
Dude, it's a sleep deprivation.
Mermaids and fire trucks and all kinds of shit.
It's crazy, man. And so as I'm thinking this, I then see another one, and then another one, and then another one. And I don't know, I was like, dude, I think we got incoming. I was like, I think we're being attacked. So I like tell the dudes, like, hey guys, I don't know, but I think we have some incoming, because I've never seen this thing before. I don't know what's going on here. There were Katyusha rockets. I'd never seen Katyusha rockets. And as I'm waking everybody up, letting them know this, and they're kind of like brushing it off, like, what the fuck's Malone talking about? Boom. I mean, dude, Katyushas are violent. And that was no mortar. You know, been mortared in Afghanistan and stuff like that, but I was like, this is like
next level.
Did not expect it. Yeah. And then my first thought goes into the mustard gas, because they were using that all over the place by us. And so, not the most accurate. I think the closest one got within maybe 75, 50 meters, but they got a pretty good kill injury radius on them. So all of a sudden, our second element, which was on top of the mountain in an OP, they start coming underneath direct contact. And so we're like, dude, this is a real fucking fight right now. The SEALs have been in it all day. They're claiming 100 to 300 fighters over in that area. And honestly, I believe it based off what I've been watching all night. You know, they're doing airstrikes. We're listening to it on the radio. All of a sudden, our team up here in the OP starts getting engaged heavily. More Katyushas start coming in. Indirect mortars start coming in. And we're like, dude, this is like, I mean, I'm getting chills like right now just thinking about it. But we're like, dude, this is about to kick off. Like, these dudes are about to start rushing the flot, I bet, behind this smoke. You know, they probably got technicals coming out and V-bids. So finally the SEALs give the call over at the dam, and they're like, hey man, we need some QRF to come up in here. We need some support, because we're getting the Peshmerga were getting smoke checked hard. Like, they were taking a lot of casualties. And so what we decided was best to do, because the terrain was so rugged along the flot there, we said, look, the moment we get an opportunity to, we're going to collapse the OP. We're going to bound over to the SEALs position, probably underneath intense gunfire, hopefully not underneath, suicide vest, or V-bids, but we need to at least strengthen our position, because the way that we were laid out right now, we were just way too vulnerable to handle any type of force like that. Because you gotta think, dude, coming from Mosul, we're just north of Mosul. There's an unknown number of fighters there, and these guys have become notorious for doing things that we're not used to seeing. And if these dudes been in a fight with 300 fucking guys all night, who knows what they could possibly be bringing up through the tunnel systems and stuff. So we finally get a break in a lull. We start to maneuver ourselves over to the Kurdish SEAL position over at the Mosul Dam. And the entire time, just rounds cracking overhead. We got a berm. I'm actually seeing Peshmerga guys like getting fucked up and wounded and shot and thrown in the back of trucks and like driven out of there and stuff like that. And that's the first time I really started to experience that. We had some friendly casualties from the Afghan forces, but nothing like in real time to that degree. And so I'm like, all right, cool, here we go. And then I remember, dude, this call comes over the radio from the SEAL, JTAC, relaying information that he's seeing from the air, saying, hey, they have a tank. A what? A tank. They have a tank. Something that they stole from the Iraqis when the Iraqis just left all that American-given stuff there. I'm thinking to myself, dude, this is fucking nuts, man. We're about to go up against tanks and shit. Like, you know, where was that in training, you know? Aircraft took it out, whatever. Finally, we make it over to the dam, and most of the fighting, most of the killing's already done. SEALs did a really good job holding that down. But what we're starting to see, dude, is they're breaking through the line. ISIS is breaking through the line. We start rolling up. There's this armored APC, U.S. armored APC with an ISIS flag painted on the side of it. I mean, like a brand new one. And it's creepy as hell when you see an American vehicle with an ISIS flag. It like gave me a weird feeling in my stomach. It was strange. That thing had broken through the front lines. They were firing Gustavs and Smas at it, but it had the cage around it, you know, the anti-rocket cage that we have. And it was effective against our own weapon systems. And finally, some Peshmerga dude, I guess from a hilltop somewhere with like a Spig 9, fucking blasted it from top down and freaking smoked this thing. And that goes crashing off into a ditch, burning a couple of the guys alive in there. In the meantime, the side door had like came down, and some fighters came out like Russian, like behind the line, which is just creepy. And they got domed and smoked, and pretty quickly. Thank God that, for whatever reason, that thing was not rigged to explode, because it would have probably killed half that SEAL team. It rolled up on their position pretty close when it finally got hit. But yeah, it was just really crazy to be coming up on this scene of just like carnage, man. And then finally, taking position. Nothing too crazy really left for us to handle, so we started calling a lot of airstrikes. We kind of pulled ourselves back because we thought we were getting muster gassed, and there's no need for us to be exposing the force to that type of a risk, because we're still very unfamiliar with how to handle it even. And it turns out they were. Whether it affected us, I don't know. First time I also saw a drone drop a fucking 40 Mike style grenade, ISIS drone. That was weird as hell, man.
How was it employed?
Just like a little handheld.
I mean, like what did they do with it? What did they drop it on and all that?
So what they would do is they would just makeshift some sort of a grip thing, electronic welding. Dude, they were pretty savvy. I don't think that there's a lot of stuff publicly known as far as what they were doing. I mean, you look at the IEDs that they had, and they would rig like an entire city block to explode, and it would be initiated off the pressure plate of this little rubber ball. We used to call them anal beads, or because that's what they like look like, or not that I know.
As you should.
Not that I know what anal beads look like.
That's all right.
But or Christmas lights, you know what we call them.
I like anal beads, but
yeah, you know what, user's choice. But dude, like they were really they had some good ingenuity, and so they flew it over our position. They dropped like a couple of grenades, highly ineffective. One of them didn't even go off, and then it zoomed out. And we were like, do we start shooting at this thing? Because they're always shooting at our drones, and we're laughing at them, you know, like, suck. We're trying to keep like count of how many rounds like a Puma can take, and then we could still get it back. I'm pretty sure I held the record of like 11 gunshot wounds. I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, that's how they were deploying them. I don't know what the control was that they had to release it, but it wasn't until the following deployment when we started to actually extract some of the data from those guys and actually start to dissect them a little bit that we started to learn a lot more about them. But that day was interesting, man. That was the day that I watched A-10 Warhog like disintegrate bodies. It was fucking cool.
It was during that same day?
Oh, yeah, same thing, because we consolidated back, went to a hilltop. There were some brick guys out there with us as well we worked pretty closely with, considering the tier difference. And dude, A10 Warhog, I was like, this is gonna be awesome. You know what really stands out to me though is how there was a squad, like 12 ISIS guys up on this one side of a wall. We had perfect view on them. They were fighting some Peshmerga guys over here. A10 comes in, drops, I don't know, it was like maybe a 200-pound bomb or something like that. What blew my mind was so many of those guys were still standing after that bomb hit. Perfect hit, right in the center of their line. And like only the ones who had basically been hit with the bomb were gone. And then there was still like 3 guys on the front and back end of the, I was like, man, that's
Were
like,
they rattled or they were still fighting?
I'm sure they were jacked up. Yeah, I mean, they were, they scattered basically at that point.
But it didn't kill them.
Yeah, I was like, you never think about that. I saw dynamics of the physics behind the explosive force and stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a crazy day, man. And then something pretty similar actually ended up happening on March, April, May. Yeah, so 2 months later. Again, they rushed the line, and again, the SEALs at that Mosul dam house really got the best of this, dude. They had to bring in front end loaders to clean up all the ISIS bodies. They were just stacking them in the back of this dump truck, dude. It was like 93 enemy KIA, I think. But that was also the day Chuck Keating got killed. And yeah, I didn't know Chuck very well. Him and I just started to get to know each other because we were doing some cross-border stuff together. And yeah, that was pretty sad.
Were you in on that operation where he was killed?
Not directly. We came again as QRF to support them. We were actually getting ready to go do like a key leader engagement down in Erbil. Our SIGINT guy was attached to them because he had better services over in that area. And he literally called us up on the little cell phones we had and said, an RPG just hit my fucking truck. A VBID just disintegrated. Like all the Peshmerga, like we need fucking help. So we go into the talk and radio chatters just blasting up. I mean, these are the biggest fights that are taking place in Iraq at that time against ISIS by far. I mean, and they're unexpected. They're defensive, not offensive. And as soon as we get in there, we hear the Z mist come out. Last name initial, last 4. Gunshot wound. To the chest. Urgent surgical. And when I heard the urgent surgical, I was just like, this is a little bit different than anything. I've never heard that with a U.S. person before. Heard some weird Z-miss come through before with the Afghan forces, but yeah, first time for U.S. So we knew it was pretty serious. Came down there as QRF, but again, by the time we got down there, those dudes did a really good job of killing and stopping the threat, and we supported them indirectly, called in some airstrikes, some mortars and stuff like that, but yeah.
Was that pretty standard for that deployment? Were there a lot of day-long operations like that where other units, SEALs or whoever, were getting mixed up and you guys would come help and vice versa, or?
Yeah, well, I would say the theme of that deployment, honestly, and it was, again, really frustrating, especially having just starting to get the taste in Afghanistan, then getting shut down, and then now here, and dude, we were dropping a lot of bombs. I don't even know how many. Everybody on the team got controls because there was just so many bombs being dropped. I don't know, have you ever worked with French aircraft?
Not directly, no. I mean, there were times where they were in support of things that we were doing, but like I never talked to them personally, no.
I'll say that was by far the most challenging out of all the nations.
Yeah. The language barrier or what?
I'll just say that I wonder what, and I'm sure there's plenty of great French pilots out there, okay? But the ones we worked with, I wonder if they were the reserve unit or something. I'll just say that much. Yeah, so that was, it was a lot of, the theme of that deployment was like, hey, don't get in a firefight.
Yeah.
Because it was the Obama administration's final years kind of winding down. Trump had just started running for president. Like seriously, I think he just got elected when we got back.
Can we detour for one quick second on that? Is that being on active duty for all of Obama's time basically, and then now even just Trump running. This is I think most people in this country didn't take it that serious at first.
Not at all.
Was that kind of the perception that you guys had when you heard that? Like, was there any, holy shit, like this guy's running? Like, can you kind of, I guess, speak to the dynamic within your unit, how politics could or did play a role with morale, with, thinking of what's going to happen, who you think is going to get elected? Like, is that something you guys talked about much, or did it not have much of an impact?
It didn't have much of a, from what I can remember, it didn't have much of a real impact because we're just so busy, right?
Yeah.
Like we're, that year, like 2016, for example, I was in North Carolina. I was home for 6 weeks, the entire year, to include deployment and training. And so we're just going through it, man. What are the authorizations now? What are the conditions that are going to be set in the near future so that we do understand what those authorizations are? And how restrictive are they? Like, where can we do work, basically?
How would you characterize the collective morale of your guys' units at that time as it relates to the restrictions and ROEs? And, like, were you guys frustrated?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was super frustrating, dude. To be sitting there, I mean, again, ISIS, bad guy territory, good guy territory. We know where the enemy's at. They're walking around. They're manning checkpoints. We can see it all on our handheld drones. They're like right down the street. Like, we could shoot the motherfucker. And it would have been the worst career choice somebody could have made. You might have even gotten charged with murder, to be honest, because it was so restrictive that unless you were being fired upon, and it was an absolute necessity, that they did not want you getting involved.
Did you guys internally get a sense that the enemy fighters absolutely knew what the ROEs were and took advantage of them?
I think that they kind of did. If anything, I could see them being somewhat confused because they know that we're out there. They know we're conducting strikes and targeting. There was a couple of times where they did try to come up on us and they got smoke checked really quickly. They popped a shot over our EOD tech's head. We got a little lax, cracks literally right over this dude's head, no helmet on or nothing. Turn around, start shooting machine guns and 50 cal Barretts at the guy and stuff. And so that dude got tore up pretty well. But I think they were kind of confused because why are the special forces here? They're just dropping bombs.
Yeah.
So I could see that happening.
All right. So after kind of you characterizing what the vibe was, I guess, on that deployment, you come home. How long between coming home from that deployment and then subsequently you went to Syria after that, right?
So I went to Syria on that deployment.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a crazy, man. I haven't talked about any of this really in so long that it's interesting to see what's like coming back to me now. So we got a phone call, and not like me, I didn't get a phone call, but the company, the MARSOC company, the AOB down in Erbil got a phone call from somebody, and they were like, "Can you guys do an amphibious assault for us?" And I'll go into as much detail as I think that I can, because I don't even know honestly what I guess people in places and times, but they were like, "Okay, who are you? Like, can we do an amphibious assault?" "Sure, but we're in the middle of Iraq." Like, what are you talking about? And they're like, "Yeah, this is my name, blah blah blah. He's with one of the tier 1 elements over running around the area." He's like, "What would you guys need if we wanted your support to do an amphibious assault?" And we're like, "Well, first thing we would need is Zodes. Like we don't have that." And so he's like, "Okay, I'll get you some Zodes." Like, hangs up, like a really strange phone call, almost like one of those. Because I remember talking to the guy Will Welch, who was our company ops chief at the time, and he was like, "It's just such a strange thing, like out of nowhere." Next day, they get a phone call from the Erbil flight line. "Hey, we have this delivery here, bunch of Zodiacs. Does anybody know anything about this?" Dude, less than like 24 or 48 hours later, these dudes had Zodes on the flight line of Erbil. Call back like, "Hey, did you get your boats? All right, cool. Let's meet up and talk." And so it was surmised that a portion of the SEALs, a portion of the MARSOC guys, because we were all underneath the same company command structure, would participate in supporting this amphibious assault
In Syria?
Dude, it was fucking nuts.
I mean, can you say where? Like what body of water?
Euphrates River.
Okay.
Historic waters, man. When I first got to and the way that we did it, again, I'll try to be as conscious as I can of this stuff, but the way we did it was so crazy. Long story short is that there was a bridge, and the bridge had been blown up by either us or ISIS, whatever, still rigged to explode quite a bit. And we wanted to conduct an assault so that we could begin pushing towards Raqqa. And in order to do that, we had to somehow create a bridge between the most narrow portion on the Euphrates River there, which was a couple hundred meters in length and width. But there was a lot of ISIS guys on top of the mountains right on the other side of the river. And it was wild. If you ever hear anybody talk about the concrete factory out in Syria, that's where we basically went to forward stage. And dude, you want to talk about being exposed to a whole new world? That was really cool to be able to work with those guys and the joint task force that they had there.
These are tier 1 guys?
Yeah.
Can you say blue or green?
Both. It was actually a combination, but it was led by green.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then even some foreign guys too were also part of that as well.
Oh.
And dude, it was like everything that I could have possibly wanted it to be.
Everything that was in the brochure.
Yeah, for MARSOC, but no, they just kind of dangle that carrot in front of you, But leading up to it was crazy, man. They had jet skis. ISIS rigged these jet skis to explode. And they would drive them across the river and crank themselves off. The Kurds that we were working with out there, the Syrian Defense Force, mixture of Arabs and Kurds, lighting these dudes up in the middle of the river. They're blowing up. Turkey's lowering the water levels so that ISIS guys could sneak over and chop the heads off these chicks who were standing on post. It was like entering this new dynamic of creepiness, really, is what it was, because you were just so unsupported out there. And finally, the conditions are met, and it took a while for us to meet these conditions. But in the meantime, we're trying to do training and prep. We're using these lakes. We're transporting some stuff around the battle space. And this guy, this green dude, he found these old Soviet ribbon bridge pieces, the ones that, for those who don't know, ribbon bridge is you put on the water, you unlock the top and it folds out, and then you use boats to basically link up a floating bridge. He found 1 or 2 of them in the middle of Syria somewhere and coordinated the logistics. We get these ribbon bridge pieces, and the concept is that we're gonna launch this massive feint down towards this other dam area on the river, draw the forces out, they'll go down there, and we're just gonna bomb the fuck out of everybody. I mean, that guy, I think the controller was a B1 or even maybe a B2, whatever we were using, but he Winchestered 2 of those things. And they have some massive payloads, as you know. I mean, all night long. Winchester 2 C-130s just taking dudes out all night long as we begin this surreptitious river crossing. Man, and we had it easy, right? But when you think about that exposure when you're out there on the water,
yeah, it's pretty dicey.
Yes, it is, man. You take a round to the freaking boat, and all of a sudden that thing starts sinking. And so anyways, we got to launch that massive amphibious assault. The partner force secured the ridgeline, and that allowed us to then pull out these ribbon bridge pieces. We took our Zodes, and we were basically ferrying thousands and thousands of fighters across, BPCs, old Soviet-style tanks. I mean, everything, dude. I got some really cool footage from that period of time.
Who were the fighters that you were ferrying across?
So, SDF, the Syrian Defense Force, which was a hodgepodge of a bunch of different factions, which some of them Turkey was not friendly with. And so I never had any problems with any of those factions. I'll just say that much right now. In fact, one of them kept me from stepping on an IED when, in theory, based off what I was always told, they would benefit from that.
Yeah. But so just so that I'm understanding correct, it was a deception landing or amphibious operation to draw all of these ISIS fighters to a certain location and then call in airstrikes and bomb the shit out of them?
The amphibious assault was the main effort.
Okay.
When they feigned the attack further down the ways, there was like a dam, not the Mosul dam. We're in Syria now, but there was a dam, and so they acted like they were going to try to cross there, as opposed to this narrow channel of the Euphrates River. Again, narrow is like, it's about like half a kilometer, maybe 3/4 of a kilometer in width, so it's still a pretty good distance. But so underneath the cover of darkness and underneath the bombardment, we then started shuttling these guys over in the Zodes. We would drop them off, come back, do that. They fight their way up, secure the hilltop. And that actually was the foothold, like the spearhead of the true offensive that ended up taking them over into like the Manbij area and stuff like that.
I guess 2 numbers questions. Do you know collectively how many U.S. Special Operations personnel in number there were on that entire operation? And do you know how many enemy KIA were a result of that mission?
I don't know the enemy KIA number. I assume it was a lot.
Like hundreds?
Yeah, because that was a multi-day op. Our part was 5-6 days long, and then that just led the whole offensive moving forward until they secured the city, which was really heavily fortified. Now, in terms of our people who were coordinating the supporting effort, it was like 30 of us, maybe 20.
And that was a mix of blue-green Tier 1.
That was the mix of SEALs and MARSOC. And then in terms of like the green and the blue guys, hard to say, because they had their recce team out there that was basically pushing forward with the forces. So maybe another, 20 or so. Yeah. Maybe more than that. I'm not really too sure.
Yeah. It brings up a question. Do you think, as having been a MARSOC guy and working with Navy and Army Tier 1 guys, do you think that the Marines should and could have a Tier 1 outfit that's specific to the Marines? Yeah,
that was a big talk when I was still in. And in fact, right after my deployments stopped and it was clear that I was getting forced out, like we were attaching to them a lot. A couple of really good buddies of mine went and did some amazing things with them. I guess the question is there a need for a separate Tier 1 entity? I think Delta does a pretty good job doing what it is they do. I think it'd be cool for the Marines to have one for sure, but that's just...
what's the point?
Yeah, is that necessary?
Yeah. I am curious. I should probably know this, but maybe you do. Do you know if any MARSOC guys have ever laterally transferred over to Delta?
Oh, yeah.
A bunch of them?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like actually gone through the selection,
Yep.
the whole thing? Yeah.
Yep.
I wonder if maybe the fix would be allowing MARSOC guys to screen for Dev Group also without having to have gone through BUDS, which I'm sure every trident-wearing guy hearing me say that would probably want to slap me for saying it. But I wonder if maybe that would make sense, because there's, obviously it's just such a different dynamic, and because the Marines, are a department of the Navy, like to me that would kind of make sense to allow MARSOC guys to at least screen. I don't know. Again, like there's the whole tradition of like, well, you have to have been a SEAL and done, at least like 2 deployments at a regular SEAL team before you can go to Dam Neck. But I don't know, just a thought. What do you think about that?
I might be wrong. I think they actually do let us screen. I might be wrong about that.
I mean, I've never heard of it, but
I know that we send a lot of our SARCs up there. A lot of our support personnel will also go up there.
I guess like the actual green team going into squadron shooters.
Yeah, like Raiders becoming SEAL Team 6 guys. Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds like it makes sense for sure because of the Department of the Navy and the amphibious maritime, relationship. But I don't know, man. I think that you guys have a very unique culture, and I love that about the SEAL teams. I really, really love the fact that you guys are a great tight-knit community. Problems, of course, like everybody, but comparatively, I think that the MARSOC culture probably meshes into the Delta environment.
Really?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
From, I guess, in what way? Or I guess why the preference or thought that it's better suited?
My first is more land-based stuff. So yeah, we have a combative divers course, but it's in no, form or fashion anything what you guys go through. And so that maritime, that like aquatic really capability is so niche that even if I went through every combative diver course ever, I would still feel, am I holding up par?
Inadequate, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. To what you guys are doing, right? Because that's like your thing. Whereas over in the green side, there's a lot more land-based warfare concepts, and that I think is what the majority of the Marine Corps is land warfare-based tactics. And so I just, for whatever reason, and I could be wrong about it, but it just, to me, it feels like it meshed. Like if I ever was to go screen and I had the option to go both, I would have gone for the green screen.
Yeah. Did that ever actually cross your mind of trying to do that?
Not really, because I was just such a fucking train wreck by the time that deployment ended.
This is the Iraq-Syria one?
Yeah.
Was that your last combat deployment?
Yeah, I did go back to Iraq after that in an intelligence capacity, supporting like exploitation and analysis and stuff, but it was a bullshit company duty that they basically just gave to me.
There was a certain level of kind of a downward spiral that it sounds like you went through after that deployment and subsequently until you got out. What happened, and was there a specific catalyst? Was it a number of things? Was it a gradual downturn, or how did that shake out?
Man, I tell people this, that it was truly divine intervention in a lot of different ways. And I don't say that as if, like, proudly, because there's a lot of bad things that happen in the interim, but for whatever reason, I'm still here. So that deployment ended. Very anticlimactic, still didn't really scratch the itch, but I'm getting promoted again to element leader. So in the MARSOC teams and the MSOTs, you have element members, assistant element leaders, that breaks up the two components of the team. So an element leader's handling business. You're one of the more senior guys in the entire company. You've proven yourself basically. And I was fortunate to work my way up all the way there. I was a member, assistant, and now here I am getting promoted. I was also going over to Team 1, the sister team, which was again being comprised of some of the more senior guys in the entire battalion. And it was just a real high pinnacle moment, opportunity for me to really just fucking crush it. I got to pick all the new joins. We had a draft, Nate, the other element leader, and I. And here we are. We're gonna take this serious. We're gonna go back to Iraq, and we're gonna get more permissions because the Mosul offensive will be, kicking off. We didn't know it would end so quickly. What school do you want to go to? Being a more senior guy, I had the choice to go to the MARSOC Advanced Sniper Course, MASC, which from my understanding is like Tier 1 sanctioned. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's legit. Marine snipers in general, right? I always wanted to go to Marine Sniper School. Even when I was a truck driver, for a small period of time, I got put as the training NCO for my truck driving platoon. And I kid you not, dude, I had such good trust within the company there. I literally filed a Marine Corps Sniper School package for myself, got it approved all the way up through my battalion. I didn't know where to send it, so I drove myself up to the School of Infantry and I handed it to the gunny who was taking those types of papers. And he was looking at it and he's like, okay, looks good, squared away. He goes, I'll never forget, this big ass Jack Black dude. Stands up, he goes, what the fuck is your MOS? And he's like towering over me and I was like, 35, 31. And he was like, throws it in the trash can. He's like, we got fucking sniper kids, we got stay platoon kids who spend an entire 4 years with the sniper teams and never get to go to sniper school. He's like, what in the he's like chewing me out, makes you think I'm gonna send you. But he did respect it, so he put me in the machine gunner's course. So I thought that was always pretty cool of him. But so now I'm at this choice where I could choose to go to MASC if I want to, but I actually defaulted on that. I gave that to my assistant element leader, and I wanted to go to Marine Basic Sniper School. And I just wanted to do it. I knew I was gonna have a target on my back. I knew I was gonna be the most senior dude in the class. I didn't care. We had spots for it. Those spots were not gonna get used. I said, send me. So I fly out to the West Coast, and personal life, things are unraveling still. I mean, it never really stopped in my personal life. When we talk about friends dying, more friends, childhood friends, overdosing, my best friend John getting addicted to heavy opiates while I'm now gone and So it's like the one thing that my best friend saved me from. He's like out there dying from it. So that was always a big stressor. Getting the calls, he's in jail, arrested, stealing fucking candy bars and shit from stores because he's hungry. And that's a big gripe that I do have with the VA is that they, especially when Oxycontin first came out, and they're just throwing it at everybody, yet the VA does not have a detox program. They have a rehab facility program, but they do not have somewhere you can go when you're actually sick. The moment that matters the most. And his mom and sister, small just side story, one day, they're in the VA hospital, John wants to get clean, and they won't take him. They're not accepting him because he's not detoxed. He needs to pass a piss test before they put him in the rehab. And he's lying on the floor in this hospital screaming, somebody please fucking help me. I'm going to die. And his sister's like pushing computers and papers off the desk, saying, somebody just please fucking help my brother. And he had to threaten to kill himself. So he was like, if I leave here, I'm going to kill myself. And he's screaming it. It's not like a calm conversation. It's a very dramatic situation that unfolded. And I only know this from my wife telling me later on. She's fucking in tears later that night. And we weren't intimate at the time. We actually were never intimate until after I left the Marines. But finally, they brought him in. So anyways, VA got a lot of people hooked on pills and shit. And they definitely need a detox program. But anyways, so I go to California. I'm drinking. I'm feeling like I'm elevating through my career path. I'm back in San Diego, Camp Pendleton. I'm jumping off the freaking pier, slugging booze, hanging out with chicks, skydiving, getting ready to go base. Outside of work, I'll say that I was living the life of a very wild person. At school, at work, I went in there with 100% consummate professional demeanor. I did not expect to be better than anybody. In fact, I learned a lot from those young State Platoon kids because that's all that they've ever known and bred. I helped them out everywhere that I possibly could in terms of general tactics, what to expect in the battle space, post-school PT, that type of thing, to make them meet the requirements. I even spotted for some of the guys who failed their first shooting qualification. My partner and me, who's a guy from my team, we were just crushing it. I got promoted to staff sergeant, and I didn't know that it was the first sentence in the Marine Corps doctrine was like, you're only officially promoted when a commissioned officer puts it on your chest. And you need to have a ceremony. Because, dude, I don't know if it's the same in the SEAL teams, but when you get promoted, do you need a ceremony? No, you just wear your shit, you get the paper, cool, good to go. Same thing with a lot of awards even. Guys wouldn't even want award ceremonies. They would just take the paper and go home. So I did that. The same week, there was a misunderstanding on some homework assignment, and I don't know if any of those dudes watch this show. You guys can think whatever you want to think, man. I really don't begrudgingly hold it against them anymore. But the sniper staff there thought that I was blowing off this assignment, and that was truly not the case. It was just a misunderstanding. But because I wasn't responding to the assignment from like a place of fear, I erred on the side of what turned out to be not completing it when I thought that it was something that was being discussed in class. They took it to like a crazy whole new level. Like they must have thought that I was giving them the finger, fuck you in your course. That was not the case. Before I know it, I'm standing in front of the major, the company commander, and the staff, and they're like, we're gonna throw you out of here. You've already passed all the hard gates. There's only like 2 weeks left, something like that. You're a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it got crazy. And I'm just sitting there wondering to myself, what is going on here? You know, what is going on? Then he's like, who promoted you, by the way? And I did something that I don't do, and I lied. And I said, oh, this guy down the street, blah, blah, blah. So I knew that was wrong. Even told my buddy later that day, I was like, I don't know why I just did that. Wasn't right, wasn't like me. They investigated it behind my back, found out that that was not true. Simultaneously, that's what I say when I say divine intervention, man. I got poison oak so severely, and it's pretty common. Guys get poison oak there on their nuts and stuff from stalking and all that. Dude, I got poison oak so severely, my eyes were swollen shut. I had 6 flaps on my eyelid. It looked like I got like in a fight with Mike Tyson, basically. And then I also had it all the way down to my knees, so like my balls were swollen with crazy poison oak, my dick's swollen. It's like I'm like thinking I gotta go to the hospital because I'm like wondering if I could even piss anymore. I mean, it was, but I'm just sitting there. I'm just sitting there in the class trying my best to take it. Can't get the damn cortisone shots because the stupid conventional medics have their methodology. They're like, oh, take some Benadryl first. And I'm like, motherfucker, like my face is shut. And then so just to top it all off, the only time ever in my life, I failed a ruck run. I failed the ruck run. And I don't know what happened, if it was the meds, if it was the poison oak, if it was just me being a, lazy, piece of trash, but I didn't pass it. And so with 4 days left, I was supposed to rerun it, but they didn't even give me the opportunity to. They thought that I was just blowing off their course, which was not the case. They pull me out the field. They tell me I'm getting sent back home. Man, I'm just like in a really weird state because past all the hard gates, what is all this weirdness that's taking place? It feels like everybody's blowing everything out of proportion. I get back home, the command shifted. So from everybody who we deployed together, they all scattered to the winds. New command staff comes in. They have no idea about my personality, who I am. They just torch me. They just fucking torch me because what the word that they were getting back from the West Coast was, basically an inaccurate depiction of how I was really taking that course. And I had almost every young man from my class signed letters to be like, Joe was helping us out. Like, this is crazy that they're just like throwing him out, making a big deal out of this. So now they're gonna NJP me for putting on my own rank that I was already promoted to, that I had the promotion certificate for, but I didn't have an official ceremony. So I'm going from E6 down to E4.
Yeah.
And they're kicking me off my team. They're taking my element away. What the fuck, dude? I've done 6 deployments, 3 MUs, 3 combat tours, 2 with MARSOC, working my way up. I'm one of the more senior guys in the entire company. I've never done anything wrong. Like this is what I'm here to do. And you guys are taking this thing so far, like out of proportion. Like this isn't what happened. They didn't want to hear it, man. And so they NJP me. They bust me down to E5 with E4 probation. I work my way into the other company that's getting ready to deploy for like, hey, I'm getting forced out at this point. Like I can't re-enlist. And I don't know if I was going to anyways, to be honest, but I worked my way into this intel billet for golf company and basically was gonna get like a last, paycheck out of it type thing. And I get switched over there. Personal life continues to fall apart. I started dating a woman who was a widow of one of the fallen guys, and I never knew her before, and I didn't know her husband. He was one of the few guys I never really engaged with from the sister team in the first helicopter crash. But you can imagine the community, especially with my current, how people were currently viewing me. So they basically like completely disowned me. I mean, guys that I undoubtedly would have fucking died for. Undoubtedly. And the thing that's crazy is that if you even want to call it like protectiveness over that concept of you don't date a fallen guy's wife, was so unfounded because they have never even done a single fucking thing for that family since the dude died. They just, out of their own ego, feel like they need to say something about that. And I met her through totally legitimate, like, platonic channel. Like, we met, we kicked it off, we just right people for the right time at that point in time. But that
didn't set well.
Oh, man, not with the community. And then ultimately, we just weren't a good fit. But because we weren't a good fit and because I had been so ostracized by everybody and anything that I had known in the area, it almost kind of like gravitated me back towards this relationship that was clearly not healthy, like not at all. And dealing with my own personal struggles. Again, people at home that are passing away, dying. I'm in this relationship. I just lost everything in terms of like friends and occupation. I mean, life, my identity is being stripped away from me right in front of my own eyes. And I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. So I deploy in the intel billet, and then the C-130 crashed. I was sitting on my bed in Iraq. Just like got done showering or something. It was in the morning time. And my girlfriend at the time shot me a text message. Funny how much war has changed over the last 10 years. My first deployment, it was like letters, and now here I am with a phone with text message. She goes, I didn't know that plane crash was the boys. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I looked up Marine plane crash, saw something in Mississippi. Didn't even register. I was like, she's obviously misunderstood or misinformed or something. And then I start hearing some chatter going around, and then a buddy shoots me a message. And he was like, hey man, like, do you know who was all on the aircraft? And I was like, no, what are you talking about? He goes, well, it was your team. Now, keep in mind, when I got kicked off the team, there was a period of time where we were struggling to keep me on there. NJP, him, whatever, blah, 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 but the experience and the leadership and all that, there's nobody else to really replace it right now, so we want to keep him here. I had a good relationship and rapport with my team chief. Start dating the widow. I get kicked off the team anyways. Start dating the widow, and who knows what was actually being said about me behind my back at that point in time, but it was like I still, even those guys, it felt like were, oh, okay, well, yeah, everybody's like, blood's in the water, fuck Joe. So when I find out that it was my team, the previous team that I just was kicked off of, I called up the team chief, and I know he's going to be busy if it's true. And he answers, he's like, hey, let me shoot you a text. I'm walking through the airport, shoots me a message. And I'm standing outside of the TOC now. Some hours have gone by, but he goes, yeah, it was Bravo element. And man. I don't know. I pray to God that nobody ever really feels that level of guilt. I know consciously things played out, and there's only so much influence or control that we have over those things, right? But you can't help in the moment to just think, man, Billy Condrat was never supposed to be on that plane. What happened was they were going to a training exercise, I think in Arizona, and they made a refuel stop, I think, in Mississippi, something like that. They take off, they're flying. One of the nuts from the C-130 propeller came loose, and at 25,000 feet, basically, the propeller flies off, and it chops the cockpit off, and sends the fucking thing tumbling to the ground. And there was search parties that were put together for the bodies. And I just think, man, like, you know how it is on a C-130. Everybody's passed the fuck out, ear pro in, whatever, radio or iPods. And then all of a sudden it's like you're free falling. I mean, it's one of like the worst nightmares that people who fly probably have, is you just think all of a sudden you're sleeping and then you wake up and you're gonna die. There were 7 MARSOC guys on that aircraft, all of Bravo element, to include Billy, and then a couple of other guys from a different team. They found everybody strewn throughout the field, random places, and a few days, but Billy's was the last person to find. They found him up in some trees. I can't help but think that, people have told me, because I've, researched, and you become obsessive over something like that when you almost think like, man, should that have been me on that plane? But because of my stupid fucking irresponsible behavior, I ended up getting taken off of it. And so you go down a lot of rabbit holes. Supposedly they would lose consciousness due to the cabin depressurization, but I mean, I don't know. I think I would be, when I've done some higher jumps, it's not like I just go unconscious. I'm not always on oxygen, so I don't know. But I like to think that maybe he gave it like one last fucking shot and just like tracked himself towards, that's what I would have done, hey, where's some trees at? Hopefully this doesn't fucking suck too much. But yeah, none of them ended up surviving. And there was, I think, 4 air crew also who ended up dying. And yeah, it was just because of a negligent QC quality control check, and that's what they determined was a bolt came loose, or a nut came loose, and chopped the thing in half. So I tried to go back to the States for the funerals because I wanted to be there to possibly like support in any way that I could, having somewhat kind of been through the helicopter crash and all that stuff. But the immediate response back that I got was kind of like, you're not really needed or wanted. So fuck, dude, now I'm just like sitting in limbo, right? Like I don't know what to think or feel. I'm over in Iraq doing this bullshit billet. I'm starting to fucking drink more and more, and then all of a sudden I find out they're like, hey, you need to go home because we're cutting your deployment short. I go home, personal life, fighting with the girl I was dating at the time, and then all of a sudden I get a phone call that my best friend died. So all of 2017, just kind of like going through that whole thing, dealing with being ostracized back at the command. Nobody really wants you around, drinking. I remember I laid in bed for 3 consecutive days, dude, just getting fucking wasted, wondering if I would have shot myself, how long it would take for somebody to fucking find me. And I was so unnoticed and unwanted that the command didn't even know I was fucking gone for 3 days, just laying in fucking bed. Eventually, my sergeant major caught wind. I don't even remember how. I think it was like after I had surgery. Basically, he was like, where the fuck is Malone at? And I was actually out in Colorado. It's just... And he launched some pretty serious investigations into me, malingering, because I had to get shoulder surgery, because they knew they were going to throw me out. So they're like, we're kicking you out, get ready to get out. I was like, well, I'm going to get some surgeries before I get out. So I got surgery. He tried saying I was malingering. I didn't really have the labral tears and all that stuff. I was trying to get help while I could, while I was still in terms of like dealing with just the fast pace of life, going into war zone. I mean, for us, it's strange to talk about this stuff where it's like, yeah, dude, fucking people's brains blown out and body pieces, guys cranking themselves off, disappearing, whatever the fuck. Like, that's like not even a big deal to guys like us, like unless I was like holding on to 5 feet away from a woman holding her baby who cranks herself off, like then I'm like, yeah, that's pretty fucked up. But if I don't experience that, to me, it's like whatever. Remember the EOD tech, and just for anybody out there, if the EOD tech ever tells you that you should go get checked out, you should probably go get fucking checked out. So I did, and I went to the brain injury clinic people, and I'll never forget, Captain Johnson comes in, he goes, are you experiencing like all these different symptoms, blah, blah, blah. And I was just so fucking perturbed, dude. I was like, what's your fucking point? Like, you read my medical record, what the fuck? Like, tell me what I need to do leaving this place, what meds do I need? Because that was my mindset. And then he goes, I didn't even read your medical record yet. I just looked at your brain scans. And so he had my attention with that. So that's like as I start to like transition out, man, you know, it's strange because I'm not getting any closure on any of this stuff. You know, those guys are all dead. I feel fucking very responsible to some degree or another that I at least should have been there.
I mean, is it safe to say or accurate to say that if you hadn't got kicked off, you would have 100% been on that plane?
It's hard to say 100%, you know, but
most likely.
yeah, I mean, it was Bravo element.
Yeah.
That was the element I was in charge of. They were going down to Arizona to conduct, I think it was like JTAC and fires control or something like that. And unless like there was an extenuating circumstance, then there's no other reason that. But again, who knows?
Yeah. The personal life continues to spiral, and it sounds like it's kind of a whirlwind of kind of all of the worst case scenario stuff, both professionally and personally, are all kind of coming together at the same time.
Yeah.
How did you handle that? And did you find yourself falling back into the kind of addictive personalities with substance in many forms, or how did you deal with it?
Yeah, I definitely used a lot of substances.
Was it all alcohol, or was there a lot of other stuff?
It was not all alcohol. It was definitely a lot of, so after my brain scans, they accepted me into the TBI program, the Traumatic Brain Injury Program. It's crazy, right? Like, to me, if you get shot in the head, that's a TBI, but we've learned so much about them in the last, handful of years that it's actually so much deeper than that. And so when he read off the things I was suffering from, random hot flash, like soaking my clothes in sweats, crazy horrible migraines, super light sensitivity, just feeling like garbage and run down all day long, he had my attention. And NICO, I think that's what it's called, they have a really great program. They assign you a team of doctors and specialists, and they run you through this gambit of things, and you get access to a lot of really great resources, at least we did out over there. One of the downfalls, though, was the over-prescription of the medications. So at one point in time, I had 26 medications prescribed to me. I had stimulants to keep me awake. I had downers to put me to sleep. I had the migraine Max Salt, which has crazy psychosis side effects. I was taking stuff for my blood pressure because my blood pressure was like 160/90 for like the last 2 years that I was in. And I'm like young 30s. So there was a lot of, and then there's a lot of like exploring with those dosages with the different generic types of drugs. And so I was acting fucking nuts. And I'm very lucky that I didn't end up getting caught or doing a lot of the things that I intended to do, because my ability to problem solve was not there. The relationship, well, I moved out, I'll say that much, of the house, and now I'm living in this empty, overpriced apartment in downtown Wilmington. No furniture except for a single ottoman, which I actually still have to this day to serve as like a remembrance. I'm fucking just depressed and whacked out of my mind on medication. I'm drinking. I'm fucking putting a gun in my mouth every single fucking day. And nobody knows because I'm not a part of anything. I'm not accountable to anyone. Simultaneously now, my command, because the sergeant, I don't even remember this dude's fucking name. And I think that's important to kind of note that this dude launched such a vicious investigation into me for unbecoming. He was trying to get my MOS pulled, like my Trident essentially pulled, because of malingering when I clearly had issues wrong with me. The TBI clinic was going to pull me past my EAS, my end of active service date. So he was trying to hit me with some bullshit charges for that as well. He was trying to straight up send me to the brig. So not only am I not a part of anything, but I'm being attacked by this outsider, fucking loser, who's not even a MARSOC guy, just some random command sergeant major that the Marine Corps stuck in there, who knows nothing about me, who made some insane accusations about me and the girl I was dating as if that had existed previous when her husband was still alive, and he did it out in front of everybody in the battalions. I mean, dude, I was at my wit's end. You know, my best friend just fucking died. Like, I've got nothing to go home to. Not that I was going to anyways. I wanted to go contract for the agency, but the substances that I was abusing, I would have never passed the screening. So now it's like, what the fuck, dude? And after a brutal interrogation one day, like, I literally thought I was going into jail. I thought I was showing up to work to go to the brig because of the fucking bullshit that these guys were making up, the command staff was making up. I went home that night, and I got so blacked out, obliterated. From my 2016 Iraq deployment, we got these custom lever action 3030s made from this dude. Team emblem engraved and all that stuff. And I was gonna go fucking kill this guy. I was so fucking pissed off at the way he was talking to me and the things he was saying to me that I literally was gonna go murder suicide, fucking his ass, and fucking smoke myself. And the thing that really pissed me off is that all these guys are killing themselves. Man, like 5 dudes I've worked with have killed themselves since I left. Like 5, maybe 6 in 6 years, maybe even more, just ones that I haven't worked with directly. And here I am being like, look, I'm not trying to say I'm the most war-torn dude who's been through the most stuff, but there is clearly obviously something fucking wrong with me, and I would like to be able to get some help for that before I leave after 13 years of service. And I'll never forget, he goes, if you're gonna kill yourself after you've fucking separated. And here I am this night, about to just throw my whole life away to go fucking show this dude, like, how about if I kill myself, I'll fucking take you with me first, you fucking asshole. And I say that because this is 6 years ago. I don't even remember this guy's name anymore. It's like Grassland or something like that. Like, for anybody who's thinking about offing themselves, you know, I always say, call me. Nobody's calling you, man. We already feel like enough of a burden on people. We already feel like we're at our fucking end of the rope. We're not calling anybody. The problems that I had then that I was willing to literally end my life over don't even exist now, and it's only been a handful of years. How pissed off I would have been, like, as my spirit's floating around being like, dude, you killed yourself over that fucking guy? You lost out on this amazing, beautiful life you could have had over that loser? Whatever the problem is, man, I've always come to notice that as long as you keep pushing through, like, yeah, there might be pain and hardships you deal with, but man, the amount of times I've almost offed myself, which I'll never go back to now that I've learned how to prime and program the brain and stuff, but totally irrelevant. And so that night, I don't know why, but a buddy of mine knew I was in distress, man. I literally fell asleep, wasted, with the 30-30 in my mouth in my apartment. I was thinking about the cleanup crew, because as I'm starting to think about what I'm gonna do when I get out, I wanted to help with active shooter stuff, and one thing you never think about is cleaning up the active shooter mess, and I was just doing research on it a few days prior. And I thought to myself, man, 1, it's gonna take a few days for somebody to find me, and 2, this is gonna leave a big mess. And I was like, I kind of feel bad for the cleanup crew, because this isn't gonna be like a pretty one. And then I woke up sometime later to my buddy pounding on the door, and my thumb was still on the fucking trigger. Safety off. I had trashed that fucking apartment, broken all the walls and doors and shit, and it was just fucking wild. I think I had a couch at this point, I flipped it. I actually pulled out that lever action not that long ago, because I don't use it often, and I keep it in the safe. I was just checking up on my safe, guns, making sure moisture and all that was good. And I pull it out. I just do a quick ops check with it. Dude, it's custom. I swear to fucking God, man, this thing must have a half a pound of trigger pressure. I don't know how the fuck. I mean, a strong exhale could have sent that thing off. But obviously it didn't. So now I'm like trying to, figure myself the fuck out, because this is not me. This is not who I am, how I've ever been. I've always been a very positive, half full type of a cup dude. This is just completely off the rails, man. Off the fucking rails. The first thing I did is I fucking flushed all those medications, man. After that night, I took my arm on the sink and I just pushed them all off over into the fucking trash can. Some went into the toilet, some went into the fucking tub. I just got a trash bag, I threw everything in the fucking trash bag. I whipped it off my fucking balcony porch. Probably wasn't the best thing to do. Probably some drug addict picked him up and shit, but I was just in such a desperate state of just needing to do something. And fortunately for being in the brain injury clinic, I learned about the brain and how it functions, how literally every thought that you have creates a new pathway in the brain. And so therefore, just by changing your thoughts, you could literally physically change who you are as a human being. Okay, well, how do I not get sucked into those thoughts, the things that keep me in this place where I currently am? Well, I need to change my physical routines. Okay, well, how do I change my physical routines? Like, drastically, because this isn't a fucking joke anymore. Like, I almost fucking murdered somebody. Like, that's not cool. Like, that's fucking bad. Okay, well, it's usually when I drink that I start acting crazy. All right, well, when do I drink? Well, nighttime. Okay, so what do I do to avoid that? As soon as you get home, lights are down low, chamomile tea, a little bit of schoolwork so you have something positive that you're working towards as you're getting forced out of the military and everybody thinks you're a shitbag over at the unit, and pop a sleeping pill. And I would be in bed by like 7 p.m. And then I would wake up at like 2, 3 a.m. And I remember the first time I woke up that early, no desire to drink. I look at my phone, nobody's texting me because it's fucking 3 a.m. The world is quiet. And I don't know how I stumbled across Earl Nightingale, Bob Proctor, these dudes who talk about law of attraction, manifestation, quantum physics, like Dr. Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you ever heard of these guys before. But dude, I've never watched YouTube in my whole life. I never even owned a TV my whole life. I had a TV screen because I was using it as a computer to do high-risk stock options trading, which bit me in the ass pretty hard 4 times. Lost all my life savings, everything, every fucking cent I've ever made in my entire life. Most recently, just a couple years ago. Went into debt, 260 grand, but anyways, we'll get there. Started watching that stuff and listening to these guys, and I was like, based off what I was learning in the injury clinic, I mean, it made sense. And I stopped drinking. I started to work on my thoughts and produce like different types of emotions and actions in my life. And even though I accepted the situation for what it was, it didn't make it really easy. The day I got out, I was living in a tent on Onslow Beach with $0 to my name, about $20-some thousand of debt because of the high-risk stock options trading. And I was doing good for a couple weeks, and then I wasn't doing good after that, man. And then it got even crazier after I got out. But I had nothing, man. Nothing. Not a single fucking thing except for the present moment. And what am I going to do? What am I going to do now? Like, I could either focus on the things that I can affect, change for the positive, or I could just die, because that's really the only other option. So.
And so, obviously, you linearly or relatively linearly, gradually got into a place, that's far more positive and, turned your life into what it is now. You met your current wife, correct?
Yeah, well, we've known each other.
Okay.
Yeah, for 26 years. Yeah.
And then how did that transition into the businesses that you started now, your training company and the university?
So, got out, no idea what I'm going to do. Ended up staying at buddy's stepdad's like broken down condo on the south side of the city. It was not clean.
Back to Chicago.
Yeah, because I had nowhere else to go. I was living out of my truck. So I was like, I need to establish a base of operations, right? I got picked up by a company out of Israel to do data acquisition from mobile devices because I had used it for some targeting stuff at that last Iraq deployment. And they liked me. They didn't have any SOCOM dudes whatsoever. The company's basically all run by police on the U.S. branch of it. And so they wanted help setting up some programs overseas with this mobile data acquisition capability. And dude, tell you what, bro, it was pretty interesting. You can learn everything about a human being from the data on their cell phone.
Yeah.
Like all the SSIDs that are constantly connecting, the phone calls you make, the paths you walk, the steps you take, everything. And I was very fortunate to work with some amazing detectives, like train them, like stateside, Crimes Against Kids Task Force, which human trafficking and child molestation always has like a really sensitive spot for me due to my time in Asia with the Muse and not really knowing what prostitution was until I actually fucking saw it, like the forced type. But that was paying well. And my wife and I, we've known each other our whole life. She's my best friend's little sister. I didn't want to get romantic. One, I didn't know if I was legitimately going to come home. Fuck. But then two, there's a lot of complexities there with, your friend's little sister, even though years ago he had given me kind of like, hey, if anything ever happens, I just want you to know I'm okay with it. But I always joke, I waited till my best friend died before I banged his sister. But
I'm sure you'd get a kick out of that now.
Yeah, 100%, man. Somebody watching this is like, what is wrong with these guys laughing about that? But sense of humor, I guess.
The dark humor in the military is like nothing else. Oh, first responders, I think.
First responders, military, doctors,
Yeah, nurses, surgeons, all that shit.
You need it, man.
Yeah.
You need it.
So living out of your truck, you're staying in this shithole, you start working for this Israeli company.
Yeah.
Things start to turn around. Mm-hmm. You've known her, but you start getting serious. Then ultimately you did some contracting overseas where you uncover a scandal in West Africa.
Bro.
And it almost got you killed. What the fuck? What happened with that?
So her and I get a nice house really quickly. I have no idea how the fuck I'm going to afford it. Because I'm still high-risk stock options trading. I made like $300,000 in 6 months. And then I fucking lost it all in 3 days.
Wow.
To lose $95,000 in a work day?
Yeah. That's like crypto swings.
Bro.
Yeah.
I mean, and then $85,000 the next day.
Yeah, that's brutal.
I was laying on the bathroom floor, my like tears just strolling down my face. My wife was like, "Can we stop this?" And I was like, "Yes." Oh man. But I go hard, bro. Like I see the market crashing, and I'm like, "Fuck you." I'll let you take everything, but that's what you're not supposed to do, apparently. So this company wants to set up these programs overseas for the State Department. I don't think they really understand what that means. I do. I'm cool with it. So they sent me over to East Africa first. Over to Kenya and Nairobi, worked with the FBI Joint Task Force, did some awesome, cool work with them, like was able to uncover an Al-Shabaab meeting location based off of the SSID from the Wi-Fi routers and geotrack it. It was really cool. Found some Americans doing some shady stuff out there. Really cool. Then they sent me up to Mogadishu. Okay, let's talk long-term really quick here. What's your guys' objective in establishing these programs now in kinetic environments? Well, to support, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, well, we need to have a very serious conversation about what I'm going over there with. Because you're not giving me kit, you're not giving me any weaponry. And they're like, well, you're in a safe spot. And I'm looking at these dudes like, you've never even fucking been to a combat zone. Do not tell me about a fucking safe spot in Mogadishu. Like, that's not how that rolls, man. It might be a secured-ish location, but and sure enough, well, one, I ended up having to rescue this chick out there, which almost straight up killed me. There's these cliffs at the airport, these on the ocean. Massive wave came in. I mean, I thought she was dead. I thought it was going to pull her over the 70-foot cliff of jagged rock. I felt guilty because we were there because of me. I go sprinting out across this coral reef, dude. My feet are just tore up. I jump on top of her. The wave comes, hits us. I just had a son 2 weeks ago. And I remember thinking to myself, because I can't tell if we're about to get impaled on the coral, if we're getting pulled over to die. I grabbed whatever I could, the coral reef. It was digging into my arm. It literally impaled my fucking body, and I impaled her up against it. It stabbed into us deep. We had to go to the hospital like for real. Getting chunks of coral reef pulled out of us and shit from some random UN doctor. I don't recommend UN hospitals to anybody ever, but we got very lucky that Spanish dude was there. But that was like one reality check. A week later, the airport got fucking penetrated and basically overran by Al-Shabaab militants. And they made it to the camp that they had us staying at. And I told them, I was like, look, guys, you don't understand this operational environment that you're going to start getting into. I do. I'm not fucking joking when I say, give me some kit and give me a fucking gun with some sort of authority. I'm not trying to go out on offensive operations. They were trying to send me into the city outside of the airport with the Janus South African dudes. And they're like, oh, the FBI guy's there, which, to be honest, I was not that impressed with the FBI every time I've worked with them. I mean, not saying there aren't good people out there, but they're like, oh, you'll be with the Janus guys. And I'm like, I'm gonna knock one of these Janus dudes out and take his rifle is what I'm gonna do, right? Like, they're not my security. So 1 week later, after I left, they get overran, they made it in the airport, killed some people. 2 weeks later, the guy who was the police officer who I was training decided to go out into town to go to the Somali investigating laboratory, whatever the fuck they call it. Boom, fucking ID cranks off. Crushes their fucking vehicle. This dude's like 70-some years old, man. He's got crazy third-degree burns all over his body, not to mention the concussion. This dude was like a diabetic, like always checking his blood to begin with whenever we were out at lunch and stuff like that. I hope he's doing good. To be honest, I would not be surprised if he died later on because of subsequent injuries and stuff like that, because their truck got freaking tanked, dude. The whole passenger side was gone. And so while that happens, they're asking me, hey, will you go up over to West Africa and do this thing in this country that I've never heard of before? And I'm a pretty geographically intelligent person. Sao Tomé and Principe. It's an island off the coast of West Africa, right by equilateral New Guinea and Nigeria, which those are actually the most pirated waters in the world. I did not know that. I thought it was the Horn of Africa, the Somali coast. But in terms of like actual pirates roaming around attacking people, it's why all the oil fields have never been drilled over there. It's because it's just people get smoked. So they send me over to this place. I got no idea what I'm doing, who I'm working with, what the deal is. I show up and I get picked up at this airport late at night, random truck, no uniforms, no communication prior. These guys are just like, Joe, fuck it, like let's rock and roll, man.
It's like a shady Uber in downtown, wherever the fuck, and you're like,
dude,
yeah, I guess this is the guy.
Yeah, man. And then they start driving me into the jungle because this is a very thick jungle island, and I'm already thinking of ways to kill everybody in the truck. Where I'm going to bail out to, I have no idea. Doing my research, there's a radio station, an American Christian radio station on the island. There's no consulate, no U.S. embassy, nothing. My thought was that perhaps that might not be a radio station. Maybe that's somewhere I can, if they don't shoot me upon entry, I can get help. So I'm already like trying to think about how I'm going to get there and all this stuff. Turns out I got lucky. The dudes were legit. They were good guys. And they're like, hey, we start work in 3 days. And I'm like, what? Like 3 days, man? Like, my kid was just born like 2 months ago. I've almost missed all of his life so far. I'm here to like do work, get you guys trained up and leave. Whatever is what it is. So I get the next few days, a tour deep into the jungle. I'm developing a relationship with these guys who I'm working with. They only speak Portuguese. I speak shit Portuguese from when I was surfing down in Brazil a few years prior. And just making the most of it, learning as much as I can. Then the day for work comes. They walk me up into this nice building, probably the nicest building, second nicest building on the whole island. And I walk in and there's this guy named Kelvin. And he goes, it's nice to meet you. My name is Kelvin. I'm the Attorney General. I'm like, of the district? He's like, no, of the country. This dude's the number 2 in charge of the entire fucking country. I had no idea I was coming in to support this guy directly. Not a big deal, right? Let's roll with this. That's cool. Like, that's something that kind of pumps me up a little bit. Working with his team directly. These guys don't even have like a good power grid, like power goes out 3 times a day. So then he's like, where's your materials? The company was supposed to ship the materials ahead of time, all the computers and phones that we do the testing on. None of that was there. And so I'm just kind of like, you can imagine I'm trying to play it cool to be like, yeah, I got my computer, we're good. Okay, awesome. You know, puts me in this back room that's like, man, 8 people are in there. Nobody speaks English. I don't speak Portuguese. I literally got Google Translate out, given this class on how to do data acquisition for mobile devices, but we got no mobile devices to actually test it out on. So I say, you know what? Fuck this, man. Do you guys have any phones like that you want to do this on? Like, let's do some real life rips. This ain't America, you know, like what's the chain of custody really like? You know, it's fucking Africa, dude. Sure enough, they're like, oh, we've got a bunch of phones. We just arrested this guy. We know he's a drug dealer. We've been trying to get him for a long time, blah, 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 blah. This dude, Moses. And I was like, bring his stuff up. They bring his stuff up. I plug into it, sitting there, processing the information. It's up on the little projector screen. Dude, it's like 3 days into it maybe. All of a sudden, one of the guys is like, stop. And he's like telling me to go back. So I scroll back. It's all in Portuguese. There's a translation feature, but it takes time, especially with the infrastructure they have. It takes like 15 minutes just to like translate a sentence. He gets up and like everybody goes silent in this room, and I'm kind of like freaked out over what they're reading. Goes out, brings Kelvin, the Attorney General, back in. Kelvin literally turns around and he looks at me and he goes, everybody in this room is in danger. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? He goes, Joe, this message, the text messages that we're reading right now, this is from the drug dealer downstairs and one of the top law enforcement officials in the nation. Okay, we start going, he starts telling me names to look up. We find mayors for the provincial districts. They got like 6 in the island. They find mayors, passports, documentation that the mayors were signing off on for the drug dealer for his mules. We find videos of Nigerians hacking people up and shit, like out in the middle of the streets of the jungle mountains that they had heard rumors about but weren't able to actually confirm yet that the Nigerians were out there hacking people up. We found the narcotics sergeant communications with every reigning law enforcement official, basically.
It's like just corruption top to bottom.
And now I'm sitting here like, dude, who the fuck am I in this room with? Are any of these people on this fucking device? Because I'm the only white dude on this whole fucking island. Like, I'm pretty easy to find, and I got nowhere to go. And I've got about 48 hours before I can get out of here because the planes don't come every day. So I play it cool. The Attorney General literally goes, this is the largest political scandal that we've ever uncovered in this nation's history. And he goes, he's like telling, like, nobody could talk about this, blah, blah, blah. I go back to my hotel that night. I immediately barricaded my door, soaked it in a bunch of bug spray and hand sanitizer. I had like a lighter with a big ass wasp can of bug. I was gonna light the whole fucking hotel on fire if anybody knocked on my door, dude. I started rifling through all the evidence that I had pulled from their phones to see if I found anybody's name, any reference whatsoever to any of the people who were in that room with me. I was convinced that I was fucked. And you can imagine why. I sent emails out to my buddies, like former MARSOC dudes. Here's the evidence file, look up these names, this is what's happening. Send it to my lawyer at the time. I was like, make sure like my wife gets everything because I don't know what's about to happen over the next 24 hours. Literally had my lights off in the hotel room the whole time. I've tied my sheets together just like in the movies so I could like set the hotel on fire and basically rappel out the back. And I didn't know where I was gonna go, radio station, right? Christian radio station. Watch it actually be like a freaking Christian radio station. I'm like, oh, this is so gay. I got lucky, man. I got really lucky that none of those dudes in that room were corrupt that day.
Yeah.
And the Attorney General was, from the evidence that I had access to, he seemed like a good dude. I got so lucky. And next day came, I'm on high alert, we finish it out. Next night, basically the same situation replaced itself and then, or repeated itself. And then day comes to go to the airport. I'm trying to play it cool the whole time. I'm so nervous that we're gonna get pulled over by other cops or something like that. You know how the corruption goes. And we get out of there. I get out of there, made it home, held my son, and I just remember his weight. Like he had changed so much as like a little human that close call in Somalia that I literally thought was going to get us fucking killed. This company's sending me to more and more risky places. They don't understand the operational environment. So I kind of had like a small falling out with them, I guess. I wanted to continue to work with the Crimes Against Kids Task Force stateside, but apparently they didn't like what I had to say about the trips that they had sent me on, so they ghosted me. They fired me, basically. Yeah.
So I mean, that's heavy shit for sure. I mean, it's heavier, honestly, than even any of your stuff in the military, because you're there solo with no fucking cavalry, no gun. I mean, nothing. That's dicey. So it sounds like that's kind of the catalyst then for you to say, okay, I'm going to start my own shit, which is where Lethal U and JM training comes in.
Yeah, I wanted to do something for vets to help them stay sharp, continue to improve their skills, because we lack purpose. And so I wanted to create this community. That's where the whole lethality concept comes from. Lethal U, stay lethal, and be capable of preserving that peace that you fought for so hard in this nation, especially 2020, 21. It seems like everything's falling apart at the seams. So I tried training law enforcement, and what was crazy is that they like stiff-armed the hell out of me. They were like, we don't want you, get out of here, we know what we're doing. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever, dude. And then basically just started training civilians, and there was such a desperate need after 2020, 21, where people are like, I don't know how to use a gun, I can't protect my family, I feel incompetent. And then that kind of just started to morph into what it is now. We've got like 400 local members in the area, and the mission now is to train 4% of the population in the Chicagoland region, so that way we could have a positive impact on violence and violent crime.
I guess from a practical application of that, what does that look like?
So the way that it would go, like picture perfect scenarios, you have an interest in getting a concealed carry license, but you don't have a FOID, that identification you need. You don't know the paperwork or what to do or any of that stuff. All you do is just come to our class. You come to our class, we could process all the paperwork for you, the FOID, the concealed carry application. We could train you up. We do the 16-hour required class. We could even break it up if you need to be a little bit flexible with your time schedule. And then you pass the qual, cool, we submit your paperwork, awesome. Then you would end up joining the university. Now, what we provide in the university is I'm an FFL, so anything firearm sales related or gun transfer related, I always do my best to, one, give the person the right firearm for them, not just some BS Glock 19 that's been on my shelf for a bunch of time. So that way they have something they like and they feel like they could use confidently. Then we provide them with the online training education. Any questions basically people have, I make a video, put it in there, pretty similar to a Patreon, but with an actual like learning objectives associated with it. And then we have our training pipeline, level 0 through 5, all the courses that support each qualification. And I brokered a deal with the USCCA where they'll probably tell me to change my vernacular on this, but I provide all the members with free self-defense insurance liability. I pay for it because in Illinois it's needed. We don't have a cash bail system, which means you'll be held in jail till completion of your trial if you're involved in an incident, which is 7 to 9 years. It's fucked, dude. It's crazy, but yet they let kidnappers and domestic abusers literally out later that day to go kill their wife if they want to. So it's a holistic approach. We meet up multiple times a month out at the outdoor range we built just outside the city, which nobody does. I did that on one of my instructor's properties. Really unique piece of property. It's basically running like, a UW campaign-ish, but for the everyday population. And that has now attracted a lot of law enforcement, SWAT guys, other military personnel in, which is pretty cool because we're growing that community and the diversity.
Dude, that's awesome, man. I love the passion behind it and kind of the practical nature that you have kind of buffered into it. That's good stuff. How does JM training and Lethal U, what's the difference between the two? Is the Lethal U the online stuff and JM is the in-person, or?
So one of the many lessons I've learned over the years with business, kind of like what we were talking about a minute ago, naming matters. So I started Southern Cross for the Constellation, up in the Southern Hemisphere, and that was for a lot of corporate consulting, active shooter stuff, whatever. But
everybody thought you were a white supremacist for that or some shit.
Dude, I mean, all sorts of weird stuff, man. I did have a guy yesterday, 2 days ago. He's like, Southern reminds me of slavery. I was like, that sounds like your problem, bro. But then I didn't want to mesh my own personal belief systems with the corporate side of stuff, so I started JM training as like a DBA, doing business as the firearms and all that other stuff. I stopped doing corporate work though, man. I'm so sick and tired of that BS, and they don't listen, and whatever. So now we're converting all the naming over to JM Training. The university, Lethality University, which I probably need to change the name on that too now pretty soon, to Defensive Shooting University. That just kind of was the online portion that's morphed into this in-person as well training. So a lot of weird naming conventions going on there.
From I guess a Second Amendment standpoint, what are your thoughts on laws, regulations, where the line, if there is one, as to what can or should be able to be owned, and kind of how that all transforms into school shootings and the uproar that some aspects of our politicians get really fired up about?
Yeah, that's a really loaded question right there, right? I mean, Second Amendment says what it says, and it's really short and succinct. That's it. It says what it says. Like, it should not be impeded or infringed upon, whatever the vernacular is. Now, the whole Supreme Court weapons of war concept, blah, blah, blah. I mean, should anybody be able to have an RPG? I don't know, because we've seen places in the world where governments topple, man. Governments fall. Like, crazy shit happens. So maybe people should. I honestly don't know. What I encourage people to do, the thing that I affect, is, hey, if you want to know how to draw from the holster, which ranges don't let you do in Chicago, if you want to do more than one shot on target, ranges don't let you do that in Chicago. If you want to shoot and move and learn how to communicate and problem solve while going through these courses, because you can imagine, dude, we take people from standing static on the line all the way to vocal, ocular, auditory triggers, things like that.
Forward rolls between the legs.
Yep, of course, yep. What are some of those other crazy Chinese or North Korean videos you see those guys doing?
Or Spetsnaz throwing shovels and following up with a double tap or whatever.
Dude, well, what's crazy, man, is like, that stuff is insane, right? But what blows my mind is how many people actually lie about their credentials in the private sector.
Oh, it's crazy.
And try to do some similar shit to that.
Yeah.
It's like, that's just, to me, as wild and insane. And it's like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And dude, I've literally had people tell me that they were Marine Special Operations before.
Yeah, I mean, the whole stolen valor thing to me is baffling. It's like, I don't know how anybody can assume that that's going to be able to continue. I mean, there's going to come a point where you run across somebody who's going to be able to call your bluff. And this is outside of just it's a dick move to do to begin with, but like, even from a practical matter standpoint, like, especially in today's day and age with the internet and social media and whatever, like, somebody is going to fucking realize that you're full of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's everywhere.
It is, man.
Fucking crazy.
And I guess to kind of answer your question there about the 2A is that that's what I'll get you to do. I can get you to be really freaking good. Yeah. I can get you to be sustained at a certain level where you just don't shoot yourself when you go to the gun range. You don't do something dumb. But that's my encouragement to people, is that, look, man, if you want to own a firearm and you want to do it responsibly, especially when we talk about kids, right? Because your kids always... a few months back, I got a 4-year-old, right? My wife's cooking dinner. And little kids always have the ability to stand in the most dangerous place possible, like always, it seems like. So he's standing right behind my wife. She's got like this tray of lasagna or something, turns around, does this whole thing so she doesn't crush our 3-year-old, drops the plate, smashes it everywhere. She goes, oh shit. My little 3-year-old goes, oh shit. I start laughing. He looks at me, he starts going, oh shit. I'm laughing again. He goes, gets a little fake plate, comes back into the kitchen, looks for dad. Oh shit. So he's like walking around, dropping things, saying, oh shit. I'm laughing. It's hilarious to me. Like 2 weeks go by, we're getting calls from his school saying he's knocking stuff off the table, saying, oh shit. And now why do I tell that story is because kids, it seems like, never want to listen to you, but they will always emulate your behaviors. And so if you want to avoid your child doing something negligent with a firearm or being around people who handle firearms negligently, because it is a tool, just like any other tool, then you need to exemplify those behaviors for them. And you do that by being properly trained and educated, not shooting on your grandpa's back 40, but by actually working with somebody who has a certain level of understanding on the scientific aspect, on the practical aspect, has actually like been in some situations and understands what's realistic for the physical human body to be going through in those high stress situations. But then ultimately also provides a good culture. Because a lot of this 2A culture, man, I work with so many chicks, dude, who've been raped in Chicago. I mean, we've got like over 100 ladies in the group, and I would say for a fact, at least 25% of them have been sexually assaulted in one form or another because they've told me that. And a couple of them went to a gun store afterwards to develop a sense of independence again, like to find a piece of themselves one more time. And what happens? They get talked to, they get called honey, baby. This chick was just sexually assaulted, bro, and you're a douchebag. You're treating her like she's stupid, doesn't know what she wants. You sell her a Glock 19 and she's got the smallest, daintiest hands possible. Well, what happens? She shoots it once, never wants to touch it again. It's not for her. She continues to deal with that pain that she's feeling inside. Yeah. So to be able to provide people with a culture and an environment that's positive, supporting, I got to tell you, dude, the community, I did not expect to be what it is. We've got every single race, religion, ethnicity, background. We even got Democrats and Republicans, dude, in the group.
That's awesome.
And I tell people, have conversations, but I'm not putting up with bullshit arguing. I'm not putting up with the bullshit. I'll throw people out in a heartbeat. Never had to do it. But it creates the environment where it's like, hey man, I'm gonna respect you and the things that you've experienced in your life and how you've developed your own perspectives. You can respect me as well. Ultimately though, we're here for the same thing. Yeah. You and I both breathe and bleed. Let's look out for each other.
Yeah. You know, again, I think it's all common sense stuff that makes good sense. And, you know, I appreciate you putting the time and effort into the research and trying to educate people. What haven't I asked you that I should have?
I mean, I don't know, man. Honestly, my wife was like, what are you guys going to go talk about? And I was like, I don't know, man. I just thought he was a good dude. Watching the show, I was like, see if he wants to have a conversation. Yeah. People came back pretty quick, so I just figured we'd kind of see where it goes and, you know, take it from there. I will just say, man, like, I cannot stress enough the power of the mind and our thoughts, especially for the vets out there, like on the verge of just killing themselves. Because I know there's a bunch of them that are probably watching your stuff that are just really struggling. And I'll say that if you could avoid the alcohol by changing your physical routines and drastically change your physical routines, get back into the exercise, wake up a little bit earlier, spend time with yourself. It's gonna be fucking painful. But dude, it's the way to get yourself out of that and to really shift your mindset into something new so that you can become a more positive and you know, joyful human being. I don't think all of life's about joy. I think, in fact, it's actually about struggle. But there's ways out. And again, the problems that you have today, it's a very good probability that they will be so insignificant in a handful of years that you would just be pissed at yourself for killing yourself.
Yeah. Amen. I love the message and just a fascinating story and an incredible life that you've lived. And, you know, to me, if ever there was a testament to, you know, being able to pull yourself out of tough circumstances, you know, you're absolutely walking it. So I appreciate you coming to share your story. I've got
thanks, man.
Some stuff.
Thank you so much.
I don't know if you're a shit kicker and cowboy kind of guy, but it's kind of a confusing box to open.
Yeah, give the Marine the hard box to open so you can make fun of me on TV, right? Oh, damn, dude.
So should you find yourself wearing some shit kickers and a buckle, yeah, that's just a little token of our appreciation for coming down and sharing your story. So,
dude, thanks, man. Yeah, if I was a brand new private first class in the Marine Corps, bro, this would be fucking killing it, man. I'd be wearing this thing and
go to In Cahoots down in San Diego, right? I don't know if you ever went to that. It's like a country bar down in Mission Valley.
I feel like I remember it, but I think I avoided those types of places, man. It's just you stand out like as a Marine, and I was looking at those coins like, damn, I should have brought you something. I saw you had some other MARSOC coins back over there.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome to mail it in. We'll put it up.
I'm gonna send you something. Yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
Picture of my dog or something, dude. I wish I could have brought him down, man. Yeah. He's a great dog, man. Dutch Shepherd. He's honestly that perfect blend between protection dog and house dog. Except I just can't get him to shut the hell up when he starts barking, man.
I'll give you some tips offline after the show.
Cool, man. Yeah, that'd be awesome, dude.
Thank you again. I appreciate you coming and sharing your story, and a lot of good life lessons learned from everything you've been through. So thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you and everything you do, man.
Yeah. To the listener and viewer, I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, you can choke yourself. And until next time, this is Mic Drop.